I'm excited to see a school truly for our city. I ask that you please vote to open Rocketship, Texas. Thank you.
Rocketship a mi comunidad en el sureste de Fort Worth. Es un privilegio tener la oportunidad donde la familia puede involucrarse en la educación y crecimiento personal de sus hijos para obtener grandes logros, convirtiéndolos en alguien que inspire el mundo de Fort Worth. He estado participando como tía en el comité organizador de padres de Rocketship. Rocketship escucha las voces de las familias y me he sentido parte del proceso para ayudar a llevar a Rocketship a nuestra comunidad en Fort Worth que tanto falta le hace como la lluvia. Mi sobrino de 5 años comenzó el pre-K en la escuela de nuestro vecindario este año escolar. La escuela era virtual al comienzo del año escolar. Sin embargo, mi sobrino no recibió instrucción académica debido a la falta de tecnología y wifi en nuestro vecindario. Es un problema de vecindario. Cuando las escuelas reabrieron físicamente, lo enviamos a la escuela porque estábamos preocupados por la salud de todos los niños por lo del COVID. Cuando regresó a la escuela en persona, era el único alumno en su salón de clases, por lo que recibió atención personalizada. Pero cuando más estudiantes regresaron en persona, él no fue desafiado, ya que estudiantes de su clase están en diferentes niveles. Mi sobrino aprende rápido, está interesado por aprender, por adquirir conocimiento y está ansioso de descubrir qué le enseñan los nuevos materiales. No tiene la oportunidad de seguir creciendo académicamente. El modelo escolar de Rocketship consiste en un aprendizaje personalizado. Eso es lo que necesitamos para que mi sobrino prospere académicamente. Danos la oportunidad de tener una opción de escuela de alta calidad en nuestra comunidad de Fort Worth, Texas. Por favor, gracias. Eso es lo que necesitamos para que mi sobrino prospere académicamente. Danos la oportunidad de tener una opción de escuela de alta calidad en nuestra comunidad de Fort Worth, Texas. Por favor, gracias.
So hello, State Board of Education members. My name is Liza Vidales, and I'm here to support Rocketship coming to my community in Southwest Fort Worth. It is a privilege to have the opportunity where family can be involved in education and personal growth of their children to obtain great achievements, turning them into someone who inspires the world. I have been participating as an aunt at the Rocketship Parent Organizing Committee. Rocketship listens to the voices of families and have felt part of the process to help bring Rocketship to our community of Fort Worth. My 5-year-old nephew started pre-K at our neighborhood school this year. School was virtual at the beginning of the school year, yet my nephew received no academic instruction due to lack of devices and no Wi-Fi in our apartment. When our schools reopened physically, we sent him to school even though we were concerned about his health. When he returned to school in person, he was the only student in his classroom and received personalized attention. But when students returned in person, he was not being challenged. Since the students in his class were at different levels, my nephew is a quick learner, but is bored since he learned the material already. He doesn't have the opportunity to continue to grow academically. Rocketship School's model consists of personalized learning, And that's what we need for my nephew to thrive academically. Please give us the opportunity to have a high quality school option in my community.
Jasmine Betters.
Good morning. Thank you for having me today. My name is Jasmine Betters. I have a 5-year-old son, and I stay in the Tarrant County area. I am a fitness instructor, and I am very passionate about wellness and education. Rocketship, Texas cares about educating the whole student, so I am here to support their charter application. I am excited to see a model that includes physical education that's open to sports and other clubs. Rocketship, Texas is opening space for our community to co-design a model focused on the whole child. I am excited to be a part of this process and hope you will vote to support Rocketship coming forward. Thank you.
All right, that's 4. So I'd ask those 4 to come back up to have any questions from the board members. I'll see Mr. Allen, then I'll call.
My question is for Mr. Jones. So,
Thank you.
Black diversity is on campus.
And so if for some odd reason this charter is not included, what do you think will implement to the child?
Well, I feel that there will not be fair opportunities for my child. I feel that now, even though my child has been diagnosed with dyslexia, she still struggles to be heard in the school that she's in as well, just because she is a few African Americans. So they're hearing her, but needing people to relate to the type of person that she is, the need that she has overall, I think is important to me and important to her. She has excelled in this school versus the ISD school that she was attending. But at the same time, I feel that there still is that need of people being able to understand my child on a deeper level.
My question is for Terrence too as well. What is the name of the school, the charter school that your daughter that is getting to?
High Point Academy, and it's located in White Sutherland, so it's not in our Fort Worth area.
So you've got a 30-minute drive.
Correct, yes, ma'am. It takes me 30 minutes to get her to school and back as well, and then I have to head to work. So my commute in the morning is about an hour and a half. Yes, ma'am.
Will, if for some reason there's not a rocket ship, will you send all 4 of your kids to High Point?
Yes, I actually have 2 going there now. Yes, ma'am.
And you think that that's meeting the needs of your kids?
Yes, overall, yes. They're, like I said, their education has excelled. My youngest daughter who has dyslexia, I've seen a lot of improvement in her over the past 2 years. So yes, I do feel that it's beneficial. Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Same question. Just to reiterate to make sure that I heard what you said, you still at this time don't feel that your children are equally represented, is that correct?
Correct. They're not equally represented at the school that they're in. Like I said, she's one of few. Honestly, I think she's the only Black person in her classroom. And I think she has, maybe in that grade, has 2 other Black kids at that school. So no, Black people are not represented well at that school. Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Any questions from other members for this one?
I would like to hear from all 4 of the people supporting Rocket School. What sort of efforts did Rocket School make to reach out to you? Or, you've got t-shirts. I'm assuming you didn't make those yourselves, but what sorts of efforts did they make to seek your support or let you know that this was a good option?
Yes, ma'am. So they've had several community events over the past year and a half, 2 years. They've had community events within the Stop 6 area where they brought families out and had, good times where we all mingled. We had options to listen to what the school represents. They've also supported other community events. So they've pretty much been the boots on the ground in Stop 6 area. There's a lot of different initiatives coming to the Stop 6 area, and they've been a part of those.
And that they provided food?
Yes, ma'am.
Are you aware of what the school budget would be for those kinds of activities? The schools are already there?
No, ma'am, I'm not aware.
So I sought out Rocketship. I wasn't sought out by them. I actually work for a mental and behavioral health company that supports the community. And we look to partner with schools to get socio-emotional education in their schools. And because we see a difference when a lot of the kids in those areas have trauma, have environmental trauma. And what's happening is it's spilling over into these schools. You're seeing kids are showing up absent or tardy or not completing assignments, and they're acting out behaviorally. And they think it's because these kids are bad. And oftentimes in public schools, they get targeted as bad kids that get kicked out, expelled, suspended. But what we work to do is we work to teach these kids how to control and manage their emotions so they can get the education. And so Rocketship supports that.
And you reached out to the public schools and they would not listen to you?
No, we do partner with some public schools as well.
Thank you.
I am glad and proud, and it's an honor and privilege to run this Rocketship School Dawn for the bright future of the kids of Fort Worth, Texas, regardless of t-shirt or all events that we can have. Make sure every kid knows there is another choice in personal education.
Anyone else like to answer the question? Any other questions?
Dara, I learn a lot when I come to these meetings. I'm not an educator. What is social emotional learning?
So basically it is the emotion. So it's basically communicating and expressing. So it's things like social skills, so sharing or being able to calm yourself down. It's being able to ask for help. It's being able to identify emotions. A lot of kids can't identify that they're upset or they're sad. So that's why you see tantrums. That's why you see kids acting out. Some kids can't express that. So what our company works to, and Rocketship also is on board, is working with teaching these kids how to express their emotions and how to calm down, so that then education, they'll have a better opportunity to learn and be able to actually be in the classroom.
Okay.
Is the work you do, is it with city, municipality, a county, or nonprofit?
So no, we actually work in the communities.
The work you do, you specifically, with the group, the company you work with, is it part of the city, the county, nonprofit, or is it a for-profit entity?
So we work with the county, so we accept Medicaid. So we mostly, our targeted area is kids in low income areas, because we take Medicaid.
Entity, what I'm asking.
Yes.
Yeah, so the partnerships you have with the ISDs you have now, your company's getting paid. So you act more as a vendor to the ISD?
Yes.
That you partner with?
Yes, but they don't directly pay us. Like the schools don't pay us. Rocketship doesn't pay us.
Correct.
Yes.
I'm familiar how that part works. And so the work that attracts you to Rocketship is the fact that they're interested in the same work that would allow your company to potentially gain another contract?
Well, it's just being able to serve the community more. That is an area that we haven't been able to get into, because a lot of those schools haven't been open to having us in there just because of different, I can't tell you what reasons why, but that side of town, that Stop 6 area, we have not been able to gain access. And our goal is to support the community and help the community.
I can tell you that in the line of work that you do, regardless of the outcome of Rocketship, just in these ESSER 3 funds, one of the 13 allowable uses is SEL, social emotional learning. And so every school district in the state of Texas is going to be looking at these things. So if it's not Texas, if it's not Rocketship, which it might not be, then keep your eyes open for other school districts.
Thank you.
Thank this group of four, and we'll call on the next four.
Chelsea Betters, Antara Nickerson, Salvador Gomez, Kiyosha Newville. Chelsea Betters.
Hello, Texas Board of Education members. Thanks for having me today. My name is Chelsea Betters, and I have an 8-year-old daughter, and I'm here to support Rocketship Texas. This pandemic has tested us all and challenged what it means to be a school. Rocketship has shown that schools are so much more than educating students during the week. Rocketship has cared for our families, gone above and beyond for students, and invested in the community. As we heal from this pandemic, we need schools like Rocketship and Fort Worth. So I hope that you support us and approve the school. Thank you.
Antara Nickerson.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Tarrant Nickerson, and I'm an early child care director in the Fort Worth area. As an early child care director, I truly appreciate the partnership Rocketship has provided to myself as well as my center. With continuous support, partnership, and family engagement opportunities, I truly testify the transition in education that Rocketship will bring to our subsidized community will make a huge impact on the growing education in the Fort Worth community. Thank you.
Salvador Gomez.
Hello, my name is Salvador Gomez. I'm a resident of Fort Worth, and I'm here to support Rocketship Public Schools, Texas, because I want today's children to have the opportunities I didn't have growing up. I was failed by the public system. There was no engagement with the system and my parents. I eventually was expelled from school. I'm now in my late 30s, and I'm a few months away from getting my bachelor's. In 2017, when I started my bachelor program, I didn't even know what a syllabus was. And I've had a few family members that have gone through the Rocketship program, my goddaughter and a couple of my cousin's kids. And the engagement that they do with the parents is drastically different than the experience my parents had. And in these immigrant communities, they need that because they have an ignorance with education and they don't know how to engage with the system. And I see that Rocketship engages these people that aren't used to the education system. The parents that aren't used to advocating for their kids. Yeah, thank you.
Kiyosha Newville.
Good morning. My name is Kayla Shanuga Carter, and I currently live in the resident of Tarrant County. As a former educator and a volleyball coach at a private school, I experienced the education disadvantage of teachers from a teacher standpoint and as a child growing up in the public system. I have noticed that in a private school, there are able to get the advantages of education than in a public school or in an inner city school. And I support Rocketship as they're offering the education regardless of skin color, background, parents' income. And working for a private school has been very eye-opening because I have been involved in inner city schools and have noticed the differences. And the Rocketship offers parents as a choice of better education for the child without affecting their income and going outside their zip code to get a better education. Please support Rocketship. Thank you.
Okay, we'll ask the last four who came up to testify to come back up to the microphone. And we will ask if any members have questions. I see Ms. Hardy.
I would like to ask Salvador a question. You said that you have been failed in the public school system.
Yeah.
Was that Fort Worth ISD? Or
No, it was in California.
in well, then that makes all sense. That answers that question.
Don't speak disparaging about anybody unless they're California.
We got nice weather.
So did you graduate from high school in
No, I
California?
didn't.
In Fort Worth?
No, I haven't graduated high school.
Oh.
But I'm about to get my bachelor's.
So you went to a GED program or something like that?
Yeah. I ended up taking my GED.
And you did that in Fort Worth?
No, I did that in California.
All right, but thank you very much for your comments.
Thank you.
That is?
Thank you. The first two ladies that testified, you both mentioned community partnership, community investment made by Rocketship. Can you tell me exactly what those investments and partnerships are?
I can speak for me as far as being a child care director. Rocketship has constantly come to my center during the pandemic and just say, hey, what do y'all need? Does your staff need anything? Do your families need anything? I know the young man mentioned previously about community outreach, doing things within the community, building family partnerships. So for me, those are the things that they have done for us so far. Just meeting with them and reaching out with them. I know that we are really big on transitioning from early child care to go into what the kids call big school. And I feel like that's a big ordeal, because when it's coming to transition, and someone mentioned social, emotional, and behaviors, a lot of those happen when things change and when things are quickly transitioned from children from the ages of birth to 5. And so I feel like that partnership and reaching out to the community and gaining that relationship with families, early child care centers is a big deal for students.
So when they were there asking, do you or your staff or anybody need anything? Did anybody say yes?
Yeah, so we had some events coming up for the kids that we were trying to still make activities normal for them as possible, being in the pandemic, so where they were still able to have some fun and engage with one another. So it couldn't be anything as little as bringing activities or bringing food or things for us for our parties that we had for the students. So Valentine's party, Christmas parties, they brought stuff for the staff to let them know that they are appreciated during this time. So anything that we needed, if I just reached out and said, hey, we're having this come up, can you do X, Y, Z? And it's like, yeah, sure, we'll do it. And so that's kind of like how they've been reaching out to us and communicating with us and supporting us wherever we need it.
So just so I'm clear, when you said, when the question was presented to you, you said we're having parties.
Yes, we're having an activity.
We're having activities.
Yes, we're having events come up where it's like we've done things with families that we've supported them through the pandemic, whether it was hosting virtual parent cafes or virtual conscious discipline is a big thing that we use. So any type of materials that we need for that as well, they were quick to say, okay, well, what can we do to help support that? Or what can we bring you to support that?
So they regularly provided activities.
Oh, yes,
they
resources,
regularly
tools.
Provided food. They regularly provided items.
Yes, whenever I needed it, I reached out and they'll say, hey, or she'll just come by and say, hey, how are you? We're just coming to check in. Here's a little gift to show you that you're appreciated and we're grateful for what you do in the community for our students.
So that includes gifts.
Yes.
Yes, thank you very much.
Yes, ma'am.
The Miss Betters, correct? She, the first lady who testified, she also said that Rocketship has supported in some kind of way. So I'm wondering, how did you see this support, or did you receive gifts? Did you receive items? Did you receive?
I mean, personally, groceries, and they had several events in the community where they fed families. And I mean, of course, they give like little goodie bags, but it's not like, you know, something that's like worth a lot of money, you know, just kind of snacks and things of that nature, pens, kind of things like that. But mostly like just the food, like feeding the community. You know, a lot of people needed that. I'm sorry.
Sure.
So that's personally where.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
Thank you.
Any other questions, Ms. Bettis?
No, sir, thank you.
All right, any other questions from members for this group of four? I am seeing none, so thank you very much, and we'll call on the next group.
Sylvia Allen, Adrian Soderman, Nicole Newbill, Melissa Fernandez. Sylvia Allen.
Hello, everybody. Hello, Texas State Board of Education members. My name is Pastor Sylvia Allen, the founder of God's Promises International Ministries, where we have served the community for over 20 years to provide resources to individuals and families. I have been a resident of historical Rosedale Park, District 5 for over 46 years. I was introduced to Rocketship Public Schools while serving the community in the winter of 2019. I have witnessed Rocketship support and educate our community before and throughout the pandemic. And I am confident that they will continue thereafter. Rocketship has partnered with God's Promises International Ministries in 2019 and also in 2020. In 2019, I actually was introduced to Rocketship with a Christmas giveaway that was hosted by Carol Brown and God's Promises, connecting with Toys for Tots and Channel 8. Rocketship came on board. They helped support that for the children in the community. Not only did they support in that for the children in the community, during the pandemic of 2020, I know that it was hard on the communities, and they gave back in a toy drive. Once I reached out to Rocketship, they gave back in toys and any other way that they chose to give back to help our communities. Thank you and God bless.
Adrian Soderman.
Good morning, I'm Adrian Soderman, and my testimony is for Thrive Center for Success. My parents were huge proponents of public education. They stressed that education was the key that unlocked the door to opportunity. I followed in my mother's footsteps and became a teacher, then moved to Texas and began teaching in 1990. Soon after, I saw the rollout of IDEA, Individuals with Disabilities Education Act. This brought several changes to my classroom. I taught many children with autism, and over time, I noticed a rise in the prevalence rate. Gradually, I became dissatisfied with my skill set for this population and reflected on what my parents taught me, that education was the key to open the door. This led me to Sam Houston State University and a master's degree in low incidence disabilities and autism. I learned about applied behavior analysis and the incredible difference it makes in the lives of those that have autism. My principal asked me to share some key aspects of behavior analysis with my colleagues, paving the way to a career as a district instructional coach for student support services. I was assigned to many different schools, supporting students of all ages and coaching both special education and general education teachers. We all worked hard to help the children. It was a challenge because for some students, it's difficult to control the variables needed for a successful outcome, particularly those with autism. My experience has shown me the tremendous need for something more. When we were starting to lay the foundations for Thrive, it was exhilarating to see something being created that could help so many students. I know how impactful ABA is and how incorporating intensive ABA therapy into an academic setting could be life-changing for so many children with autism. This population needs better options to truly reach their full potential, and I'm confident Thrive is the answer. I firmly believe that the way to open the door to opportunity is to have the key. For autism, that key is access to focused, high quality, free and appropriate public education. Thank you very much for your consideration.
Nicole Newbill.
Great morning. My name is Nicole Newbill Godfrey.
I was a former educator in the public school district where I work with special needs or special population of children. I noticed the difference in the private sectors and charter schools as well as the public schools. I'm here to support Texas, the Rocketship organization, because I have seen a lot of things that they have done in the community. I'm currently a social worker who works in disadvantaged populations for their purpose, to make sure that wherever across the board, not only are we able to service our parents, our young adults, but also the children. It starts first with our children. If you can allow them the opportunity to thrive in strong places where they feel comfortable in and get the support that they need, then we can make them really great, productive adults. Please, I'm here to solicit you to be able to support the growth of this school. Thank you.
Melissa Fernandez.
Good morning. My name is Melissa, and I'm a mother of 6 children who attend school in Everman ISD. I'm here today to ask your support for Rocketship Public School in Texas. Each of my children learn differently, yet their school teach every single student in the same way. Personalized learning, like the way they do at Rocketship, lets our kids who need more help get the help. And kids who need to be challenged. This is what my family needs. Just as no 2 kids learn the same way, no 2 kids should expect to learn the exact same way in the same space. Please approve Rocketship Texas. Thank you.
All right, that's 4, so we'll ask those 4 to come back up to the podium. Are there any questions for this group from members? I'll start with Dr. Young, then Ms. Hardy.
Adrian. Hello. Hi. Thank you for your testimony. I wanted to just touch on a little bit and ask you a few questions specifically related to the ABA therapy. Your statement was that there would be better options. So if you would just take a minute and explain the difference between what's offered in a traditional public education program and what could be offered in Thrive with Success, where ABA therapy is concerned.
Well, in a traditional setting, you're not getting the ABA therapy, where we're using that data-driven to the degree necessary to control the variables to bring about the change. Also, and the change in behavior, and that's one thing that is focused on in the public school setting. But ABA, when it's applied to academics, can also what it would do is it would just provide the structure necessary to bring about success for the students, and you're taking very precise data, and so you can see when they are making that improvement and when they're not, and you can ebb and change your support for the students and what they need.
And in the programming, the student to teacher ratio, as well as the paraprofessionals that'll be part of the program, they will all be trained in ABA therapy?
That is correct.
And will your program have the ability to turn that data very quickly and make daily adjustments for the students as necessary?
Absolutely, yes.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Ms. Hardy?
For Adrian as well. Adrian, I've been a public school teacher, and we have had the occasional autistic child in our classroom, or not in our classroom, in our school. And I know one of the things that I enjoyed about seeing and reading about your school is that you would be meeting some of those physical needs that we can't possibly do in the public school because of the lighting and the noise and all that sort of stuff. What I was confused about, though, is do you take the kids at a very young age and hope that they actually will become so adjusted that they will work out of your school, or do you see them going all the way through in your school? Put your mic.
with each student being individual and having different needs and each family having different expectations, we want to offer services for all ages. So although we're starting with a limited K through 5, we're going to be growing grade levels each year to eventually cover all those ages. But some families would like, or the children will make enough success to go back into their traditional neighborhood schools. And so if that is the case, that we're going to be helping them to put their skill set in place and then also help the transition back into the neighborhood school.
So say I had a child that was a 5th grader and you get your charter, you would be prepared to start with that child at that particular level, even though it's going to be older than some of the other kids that you have in there.
That is correct.
That's very interesting. Okay, thank you. And I have another question of Melissa. Melissa, I misunderstood you at the first. I couldn't hear you. Did you say your children go to Everman School District?
Yes, Everman ISD.
Now, do you live in Everman or?
Yes.
But you would be sending your kids to Rocketship if they.
Well, yes, it's in Tarrant County.
Yeah. How long a drive is that?
Probably 10, 15 minutes.
Okay. And what kind of rating does Everman ISD have?
Not the greatest. I mean, yes, not the greatest.
And do your kids have any kind of like learning disabilities or anything like that?
Yes, one of my daughter does.
And what is that?
Well, she's had some dyslexic, but they've never really diagnosed her with I'm sorry, but she doesn't get the help she needs there.
It's not being.
No, they just keep passing her grades. I mean, if you put her to read, she's a lower level than she really is.
And thank you. And to the other ladies that were from Rocketship, one of the things that I need to ask you about is, as they talk about Rocketship and the goodies or gifts or whatever, what about the social and emotional help that Rocketship is able to give from that standpoint, as opposed to just like a goodie bag? What can you say? Yes, that'd be great.
I'd like to answer that question. One of the things that they give back, presently my sons are 42 and 38. I come from a family of educators. My mom graduated from Bishop College in 1952, and I did teach at a Christian school, Higher Touch Christian Academy. I am definitely impressed with Rocketship because it takes a village to raise a child. I believe in every child, every color of the rainbow across the board deserves an opportunity to get a higher education. And that is what Rocketship is bringing to our community. I am a lifetime resident of Stop 6, grassroots, and to see an opportunity of a Rocketship school, I've read on the literature. I went to not a lot of meetings, but I've been around seeing the things that they were doing. I am a community activist. So the thing is to be able to see a dream come true in my lifetime of 60 years to be in our community is nothing but a blessing. Every child deserves an opportunity. Autism, mental illness, educated, uneducated, bring them where they need to be. Because when I worked at Higher Touch Christian Academy, a lot of my students, there were 2 grades under their grade level. But at the end of the school year, you all, they were where they needed to be. They got trophies, they got all kinds of things. It is a reward for me to witness, I'm not even worthy to be in this room, but I'm just asking you all to please consider Rocketship, because you will not be disappointed. You'll be impressed about the things that you all chose to say yes to. Thank you and God bless.
All right, any other questions from members? All right, hearing none, thank you very much, and we will call on the next group of 4 testifiers.
Megan Horsley, Brendalyn Jackson, Antoine Nickerson, Charles Horsley. Megan Horsley.
Good morning, State Board of Education members. My name is Megan Horsley, and I support the Rocketship Texas program. I'm a realtor in the DFW area, and I'm excited to see the opportunity for a new and innovative school come to the Stop 6 neighborhood. Rocketship has already done so much to be involved with the community, and I see that as a sign of commitment to invest in that community. They've hosted virtual community meetings, had resource fairs, and even an end of school year celebration for the community. I see them building relationships with parents, community members, and local organizations across the Fort Worth area. And they believe in the future of Fort Worth. And I feel that that's what Fort Worth needs, especially the Stop 6 area. Please support Rocketship.
Brendalyn Jackson.
Good morning. Dear Commissioner and State Board of Education, I am Dr. Brendalyn Jackson. I'm the founder and president of a nonprofit, community-based organization. As we rebuild our economy and schools from this pandemic, we must not do things the same way as we did them before. The old way wasn't working for our underserved communities. Let's innovate and build a truly community-focused school that will serve all students across Fort Worth. And I believe, strongly believe, that Rocketship Texas will do just that. And I thank you very much.
Antoine Nickerson.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Pastor Antoine Nickerson, and I am here to offer my support to Rocketship Schools. With my continued support and partnership in Fort Worth community alongside my ministry, Good Shepherd Temple of Praise West Campus and our main campus, I am truly enlightened by the passion Rocketship has shown. The passion of personalized learning, the passion of talent development, the passion of parent power, unleashing the parent power. With so much involvement in the family and family engagement and the partnered education of parents, I truly believe Rocketship will continue to instill a firm foundation within our growing community. And we as a church, we look forward to continuing our partnership with Rocketship in our community. Thank you.
Charles Horsley.
Good morning. Hello, Texas Board of Education members. Thank you for hearing my testimony today. My name is Charles Horsley. I'm a father of 4. I'm here to support Rocketship, and I hope this board chooses to open a school in our community. Before Rocketship Texas has been approved by this board, they have reached out to parents and have built true partnerships. I've been to community resources, fairs, food drives, had a chance to speak with the leadership team there, and they've always asked the same question about what the child and what the community needs from a school. I've never seen this before in the Fort Worth area. It's clear that Rocketship Texas is different and is truly partnering with parents to help the community succeed. Please vote to bring Rocketship to the Fort Worth community.
Members, that's 4 testifiers. So we'd ask the 4 of them to come back up to the podium for questions. Got Mr. Allen first.
Believe it's Pastor Nickerson. Wanted to ask you if you and your church are partnering with the school right now, and if that is the case, if you are, are you going to continue that partnership, or would that school lose out on the resources and what you bring into it at this point? So what schools are you partnering with now?
So as of right now, really it's Rocketship. We partner with other people in the community. For example, what caught my attention about Rocketship is some people call it gifts, but I call it contributing to the community. And so as a ministry, that's our job, to contribute to the community. And so partnering with Rocketship, they contribute to us. They also contribute to the Fort Worth community with food, water, and they've been doing this. And so as a ministry, that's what we do. We partner with other nonprofits, Funky Town Fridge, which is basically a fridge that's put in low-income areas that are called food deserts. And so basically we provide them with food. Anybody can come up and get food. And so when I look at Rocketship, they're doing what I would call God's work by contributing to the community. So as a faith-based church, we believe in Rocketship. Hope that answers your question.
Well, one of the big initiatives now is to partner with churches, faith-based initiatives. And so I'm looking at not only yourself standing here, but the human capital that a church can bring into a particular camp. So I was saying to you, if this was not there, are you connected with some other school? Because those same resources and talents are needed. So I wanted to see the reach from the church component outside of this. And if it was that there, would somebody lose?
Okay.
You know, would somebody lose if you transitioned your work somewhere else? And how does that affect the community? That's what I was looking for.
Okay. So you're saying, when you say somebody lose, what you mean, like, explain that for me?
Well, as you go forward here, you're going to increase your initiatives here. So I was looking to see if you were working somewhere else as well. Okay. You can't spread yourself too thin.
I got you.
So what would you do?
So it's more so they're contributing to us, but we also contribute to the ministry, to the city as well. And so they opened up the door for the partnership. And so we see what they do with the community as well. And so, but we also do things for the community as well. And so I think for our relationship, they are contributing to us. And as Rocketship know, we're there to do whatever we can do to help them out or to partner together.
I don't want to prolong it, but I simply was wanting to know if that was another school that you were also working with. That's all.
No,
I
sir.
really wanted.
No, sir.
Okay.
No, sir.
No, sir.
Any questions from other members? Mr. Maynard?
I have a question for Pastor Nickerson. You're engaged in the community there, and of course, we just went through a pretty challenging time with profound needs in the community in terms of people, their ability to go to work to make a living. And I'm assuming that your church was ministry was involved in some of the relief efforts. Yeah, and are you telling me that during that time that the Rocketship folks were also engaged in that effort? The reason I asked that question is that an earlier testifier said that during that time and that the traditional public schools, and I say traditional public schools because I think it's worth noting that a public charter school is a public school. By law, that is a public school, and I think that we need to make sure that we address it, properly. But the earlier testifier said that the charter folks were nowhere to be seen. To use that word, do you take exception to that description?
Oh, I'm sorry. My mic was off. But anyway, you can see that they've been doing the work. During the pandemic, they was out giving water, they was out giving food, they was out contributing to the needs of the community. As a Christian, I believe that the Bible says that the harvest is plenteous, but the laborers are few. So that simply means there's a lot of work to do, but you don't have a lot of people willing to do the work. And so when I find somebody that's willing to do the work, I'm willing to partner with them.
And I'm not, and by the way, I'm not suggesting any sort of way that the earlier testifier was being untruthful. I think that maybe that those efforts were not seen, and maybe that they were done in a different way.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, okay. All right. Thank you.
All right. Any other questions from members from this group of testifiers? Ms. Pettis?
Do you partner with any other school districts, independent school districts that are already in these communities where Rocketship proposes to build?
No, ma'am.
No. So do none of the school districts, because where I come from is far west Texas.
Okay.
Every one of our school districts out there were providing meals for their students because most of them were on virtual, right?
Right.
So the buses were going out into communities. The buses were the hotspot, right? Because a lot of it is rural community, and food was being delivered in this manner. Did you see, or are you aware of any of the school districts where Rocketship is proposing? Did any of the ISDs there do anything similar to what you're describing that Rocketship did with your organization?
I would say similar, no. What I seen more of is because of, which is the money that's coming from government. They give money to feed the kids anyway. So like for breakfast and lunch, you could go to the school and get food like that.
Right.
But did I see those schools out giving water? Did I see those schools out doing community events, community engagement, contributing to the community like that, like the way Rocketship does? I didn't see that.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, any other questions from members? Seeing none, I thank this group of 4 testifiers, and we'll call on the next group.
Jocelyn Munoz, Delisa Sparks, Armaya Horsley, Coral Ramos. Jocelyn Munoz.
Good morning, Commissioner and State Board of Education members. My name is Jocelyn Munoz. I'm a teen mom. I am here today to ask you to support Rocketship Public School Texas. I didn't receive a strong educational foundation and want my son to have a better experience in school than I did. I hope my son will have the opportunity to attend a school like Rocketship, where he will be excited to learn and where they will push him to his full potential. I believe Rocketship will provide a strong early learning foundation for my son. Please approve Rocketship Texas. Thank you.
Delisa Sparks. Armaya Horsley.
Good morning, State Board of Education members. My name is Armaya, and I'm here to support Rocketship Texas program. I am excited about the opportunity to see a new school come to the area that cares and supports the community.
Coral Ramos.
Hi, good morning, Commissioner and State Board of Education members. My name is Coral Ramos, and I am here today to ask you to support Rocketship Public Schools, Texas. Too many elementary schools in Fort Worth are failing our kids in disadvantaged communities of color. Every year students spend in these schools is another year they fall further behind. We can't keep waiting for these schools to improve. Our kids deserve the chance to succeed. I believe Rocketship Texas gives them the best chance to realize their dreams. And also, just for the record, translation services for non-English speakers needs to be more equitable. And the lady Perla, her response was not fully translated by Mr. Cortez. She said her concern of bullying of a student being beaten was verified by the staff she spoke to.
Lauren Scott. Aisha Malone. Jasmine Jenkins.
Morning, State Board of Education, Texas. My name is Lauren Scott, and I'm here to support Rocketship, Texas. People who see potential in our next generation and willing to serve our lower income students for a transformative change lets me know that they are here for our children. As a former special education teacher, a recent reading teacher, and now a mentor for Fly Girls Academy for inner city young girls, I stand by Rocketship. This school is not only committed to differentiating and learning and tapping into seeing the best in their scholars, but also see that their parents played a vital role in unleashing the power of student success and keep them accountable for the well-being of the students. Our community needs to know that their children will receive the best education, connection through knowing who they are as the next generation for the world, in which I feel that Rocketship will offer just that. Thank you.
Thank you. And that is the group of 4 testifiers, who will call those 4 back up to the podium for any questions from members. Any questions from state board members? Mr. Maynard?
Ms. Ramos? I think what you said is that you feel like the elementary schools in those neighborhoods are failing?
I'm sorry, I didn't understand the question.
The elementary schools are failing?
Yes, so, I mean, usually, like well, she's technically my sister, Melissa Fernandez. She was saying that her daughter is kind of dyslexic. And, you know, to me, I think that Rocketship would give a better chance for, you know, for somebody like her, instead of just passing them up to the next grade level.
Are the elementary schools there not providing dyslexic services?
I haven't seen any, no. I have lived in Fort Worth forever.
I'm just sort of curious what efforts have been made to improve the existing schools. I mean, I guess the community has also been involved with those efforts as well.
Yes, I mean, I've seen where, you know, they've had the earlier people were saying about helping the communities with any resources needed, like, you know, to, I guess, get to know the community better.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Any other questions from members? Dr.
Yeah,
Bellmiller?
I was just wondering, this is actually a question for all 4 of you, because I'm curious. This is such an organized effort with the T-shirts and everything. How did you all get up here and manage to, get away from your family responsibilities or work or whatever to come and testify? I mean, I think it's really wonderful to have testimony, but I'm just curious about how you were able to do this, and if you know each other, or what kind of community effort did it take to do this?
Make sure your microphone's on.
Okay, sorry. So I can speak for myself. So I have to go to work because I'm a single mom, and I also have a teenage daughter. So I have to do, you know, both roles.
Yeah.
So, but I do like to support, you know, schools that really, you know, other communities that do need extra resources. And we all came in a charter bus. But, you know, I did take time from work just to come support. Especially because Jocelyn is the dyslexic child we were talking about.
Well, for me, I have a supportive husband who was willing to take on my child while I was here. But I also feel like when something is important to you, you make sacrifices. And so I feel like this was a sacrifice that needed to be made, because my thing is, I'm really big on focusing on the child, focusing what the child needs. And if our children in our area need Rocketship, I feel like that it is important that I'm here to be an advocate for them, and I'm willing to do whatever it takes to make sure that Rocketship is here.
So did you all, who paid for the charter bus?
Remind the audience there's no comments from the public. Would any of the four like to answer that question?
Oh, I did not take the charter bus. I actually drove here, so that's another sacrifice right there.
Would anyone else like to answer the question?
I came here with my mom and my aunt, Melissa Fernandez. I had to bring my kid because he's my main responsibility, and I had to bring my school laptop to do my summer school. I'm here with my mom and my dad, and I'm just here to show my support, to show that I care, and that I think it's just a very good thing to do when the community is in need of a better school.
Any other questions, Dr. Belmedera?
Thank you.
Not a question, just a comment. I think with agreeing with Ms. Ramos, I would suggest, like I do, a court reporter when I go in with a Spanish speaking client, and it's real time. So is my client speaking or translator speaking? So I'd suggest translation services when we have Spanish speaking testifiers.
I guess my question is for Lauren Scott. You're a former special ed teacher, did you say? And reading teacher? All right, and so I hear a lot about differentiated instruction. And I didn't teach at the elementary level. I taught the high school level. You know, and it's been some time since I've been in the classroom, but differentiated instruction is something that we talked about frequently. That I did in my classroom. I think that as an instructor, that you try to find the key to every student, because not every student is the same. You got the key to every student is a little bit different, but
and I feel like Rocketship could unleash their potential in that child. For instance, I feel like, I'm sorry. For instance, I know me being in the classroom, I've observed teachers who, you know, have students doing the same work. And my thing is, if there's a special education student in the classroom and they don't read like everybody else, then why are you putting them on the same level? That's just like the STAR test, but we're not going to get to that. But as far as Rocketship, I really feel like that they will give that one-on-one instructional time. I feel like that they will seek potential in the student. I also feel like that they would engage in our babies. I also saw that they serve 77% of our lower income students. 77% of our lower income students. That is a great ratio for me, in my opinion, because my thing is, my child, she goes to a school where she's the only Afro-Indigenous baby there. And so I look at her and I'm like, she needs diversity. And I feel like Rocketship will create that diversity in the classroom and bring that equity as well.
Well, let me follow up with my question on differentiated instruction. And the reason I bring it up is that I mean, I left the classroom. The last time I taught in the classroom was 2000. That was 21 years ago. And then I went into administration, and for 17 years. But I guess what I'm saying is this is not a new concept. You know, classroom teachers, we've been thinking about this for a long time. Now, as a board, what we have to do is that we have to determine if whether or not that this application represents you know, something that is different, that is to meet a need that is currently not being met in that community. Now, what you're telling me is that, or what I'm hearing is that you don't think that there's any sort of differentiated instruction in the traditional public schools that exist in that community today. Is that what you're saying?
There are, but I think that you rarely see it. Like they want you to do differentiate, but it's not happening. It's not happening in certain schools. So that's what I'm saying.
I mean, and I'm addressing the question to you because you're a teacher. I mean, not everybody would understand that, but you understand it.
Yeah, because I'm not your normal teacher, so.
Well, I don't think I was a normal teacher either. So, but yeah, tell me a little bit about, I mean, and I guess the question is how do you know that? I mean, how do you, and what I'm looking for is that, you know, you're a testifier, and what a testifier does is they offer evidence. And so tell me a little bit about your experience and looking through your lens as a teacher, and say like, well, you know, we need more differentiated instruction, but you're saying that it doesn't exist. How do you know that?
Well, I've been in 2 different school districts, but also I've been to 3 different schools. One of the schools that I have been to, it was in another area, is in Everman ISD. Another school I have also been is in the Fort Worth area. And then another school, the last school that I was in, it was a program of choice school. And for me, I was an inclusion teacher. And I was an inclusion teacher for 3 years. So what I would do is I would go in the classroom with my special education babies, and some teachers, not all teachers, because you know they're all different. I would go in the classroom and they will be frustrated with my kids. And my thing is, you can't categorize the child in the same category as those kids. We supposedly supposed to have 3 tiers, tier 1, tier 2, and tier 3 in our classrooms. And so with that being said, I've never seen, we see data, we see that they put colors on our babies. They put green, yellow, and red on our babies. We see all 3 of those categories, but yet y'all still put them in the same lines of trying to create success. You say you want growth, but then again, you look at numbers. And so I've seen, and I've also heard people talk about numbers instead of growth. And so with that, my thing is, I really feel like Rocketship will create that space where they're not just looking at numbers. They're going to be looking at how much the child is growing and glowing in the school.
And why do you think that Rocketship will do a better job at that?
My thing is, I feel like they will find teachers who are just as passionate about their vision and mission. They would make sure that they have teachers in the classroom that are willing to make those sacrifices of seeing the best potential in the students.
And why do you think the local ISDs are not making that same effort?
I would say that, to tell you the truth, there's no equity in certain school districts. I don't see it. Like when I see you guys, I only see 2 African-American people here. And my thing is, and I'm not racist, I love each and every one of you guys.
No one's perfect.
Yeah, no one's perfect. You are right. And so I feel like when you start diversifying things and seeing people's opinions and not being judgmental and trying to find collaboration with each other, then I feel like that Rocketship will create that type of energy and space for our community.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
try to pull in Ms. Davis. I believe she has a question. Are we set up for that? We can, go ahead.
Testifiers. I would like to know how many of you guys have actually read the application, or have you just relied on what you've heard in the community meetings? And if any one of you have actually read in the application, I'd like to ask you a specific question pertaining to some of the things you said about students with special needs.
Any of the four that would like to answer the question?
I unfortunately have not had time to read it because I've been busy working. That's why I said I had to take off.
Microphone, please.
Oh, I'm sorry. I said I have not, unfortunately not read it myself because I've been busy working, but and I lost my glasses, so I'm switching. So sorry. And yeah, and that's, that's the reason. That's the only reason I haven't read it. So I do apologize.
Any of the four that would like to comment?
So I'm sorry, I just want to make sure, so that was no one?
I believe that's correct.
All right, thank you.
Okay. Any other questions, Ms. Davis?
No, that's it. I just have something specific to the application and data and information, but I do thank you all so much.
Thank you. Ms. Perez Diaz? I'm sorry, Ms. Perez.
I just assumed she was on Zoom. Okay.
Oh,
Yeah.
oh, I'm sorry. Okay. Ms. Perez Diaz, are you available?
I am, thank you.
Sorry about that.
No, it's okay, I appreciate it. I'll hop on video in a little while. I'm currently with a newborn. So, but I did quickly have a question. So, and this is for any testifier that wants to speak up. I've been listening in and heard from a lot of parents this morning. I really appreciate you all making a trek in. I will begin by saying, for me, I'm not so much concerned with how you got there, but your why. I want to understand why an alternative school model is what you're seeking in place of your traditional public school districts. For me, that's what's most important, especially as we're hearing from parents. We frequently in education hear about how parents don't have voices or aren't provided the platform. This is your opportunity, and so I'd like to open that up. I want to hear just very genuine responses in terms of why you feel Rocketship will do for your child or your children what your traditional school districts haven't been able to do at this point. And that question is for any parent or any or even the educator on this panel.
Hold on. We can only add, these are questions for these four members here. Sorry about that. Sir, are there any of the four testifiers who'd like to answer the question? All right. Again, we'll have no outbursts from the members in the audience, please. Ms. Perez Diaz, I don't see anyone that has a comment on this. Any other questions you have?
No, that's it. I'll probably ask that question again in a bit.
Okay, I got Ms. Perez and then Mr. Hickman and then Dr. Robertson.
There's been quite a bit of testimony from this group as well as previous groups of four, talking about how you feel or you believe that Rocketship will seek teachers to do things differently, to be more personalized, to be to bring more equity and perhaps reflect the community far better than what you've seen in the surrounding school districts. And the only data that we have to go off of, the only evidence that we have to go off of, the only thing that we have seen in Rocketship comes out of California. And in California, it's 36 students to 1 teacher. And I'm wondering if you can tell me, please, what is it that they have done here in your community that tells you, that shows you, that is evident they're going to do things differently for you all than what they've demonstrated in California?
we can't necessarily compare California to Texas. California and Texas is different. And seeing that Rocketship is trying to get their feet wet, I think that it's a thing of chance. You can't necessarily give a hard no unless you are given a chance. And so I feel like if you give Rocketship a chance, you may see how different it can be from California. Because of that 77% of the lower income students coming in, I feel like we can minimize the ratio from 1 to 36 to maybe 115. Because if you put the ratio in a different type of category, then you'll be able to see different growth from 1 to 36 and 115.
Is that number that you're mentioning your hope, or is that something that Rocketship has committed to?
No, that's just based off of hope.
Yes, ma'am. I just wanted to be
Yes.
sure. Thank you.
Yeah.
Mr. Hickman?
Again, sorry, not a question, just a question for you, Mr. Chairman. Can we ask questions to past testifiers? It sounded like Member Davis and Member Perez Diaz kind of asked open-ended questions. I also have a question for a past testifier I missed. Is that allowed, or we're only allowed to direct to these four?
So typically, I think we've done this is at the end of testimony, that if there's anyone that would like to be called back up, if there's no objection from the members, and we'll call people back. You have the opportunity to call people back up after we've gone through all the testifiers.
Okay.
Well,
right,
and I don't know, board members, you've got about 70 testifiers remaining on this item.
Okay. Sylvia Allen, please stay.
Dr. Robinson.
Yeah, this is for one of the, two of y'all are teachers. That's right. One of y'all there are the teachers. I didn't know if you were aware that, again, you know, when we talk about California, we're only mentioning that because, you know, that's what Rocketship's done before. So that's all we have to go on as far as their performance. But I didn't know if y'all, especially the teachers, were aware that the teacher attrition rate at their schools in California is like double what it is in Fort Worth ISD. And that apparently one of the big reasons for that is they pay their teachers about $20,000 per year less than the districts that they're in the San Francisco Bay Area. So I didn't know if y'all were aware of that, because that could affect obviously the kids, that there's a high teacher turnover and they're not being paid as much.
Any of the four testifiers like to comment on that? Okay. Any other questions, Dr. Robinson? Okay, Dr. Young, did you have okay, Dr. Belmetro?
I also have a question for the four of you, and the other testifiers, of course, can consider this. Are you aware that if this one school is accepted in Texas, that means that all of the future schools, any place in Texas, will have to be accepted without this kind of hearing or this kind or an application that goes through our approval system? So you are very important. Your opinion is very important. And I think it certainly shows that Rocketship has made an effort to win you over, but are you aware of just how important you are and just the kind of gamble that the state of Texas would be taking to invite this large a corporation into our school system?
Any of the four that would like to answer the question or comment? See none. Any other questions, Dr. Belmetro?
That's all.
Okay, Ms. Pettis?
In going through what is in writing in the application, and this is not a question as to did you read it, because I don't expect you to have read it. I think that you come here with the knowledge and experience of having spent time with the proposed leadership, right? So I don't want to come across like a teacher lecturing you for not having read the homework. So, but looking at their application, their proposal is 25-1, 26-1 in Fort Worth. Is that adequate? And I'm saying that only based on what we've heard from this group, from the needs of the children that you are here either representing as parents or your role as a teacher. Is 26-1 any different than what is in the school districts or the campuses in the proposed boundary? It is different. Can you just put a little bit of detail on that? How is it different? It's about the same? Okay. So the point that I'm trying to make here is, I know that we don't want to compare California to Texas. I'm very aware that that's not what we want to do, right? So I don't mean to say that that's what we are doing, but that's all we have. Rocketship is coming from California. This is a California-based entity. And so when we look at what they've done there, we can only imagine, right? That's what they're going to do here. And I hear your statement on give them a chance, because how can we judge them without having seen what they're going to do, right? It's a very expensive opportunity, and that money is going to be taken away from all of the other students in the surrounding schools. It's very difficult to say, sure, go ahead and give them that chance when we've seen what they've done with this kind of funding in similar communities. It's not much different from what you have experienced in this scenario, right? The student to teacher ratio, unless it gets worse. Because what we do have is the data, the evidence that they bring to us from California, and it's not better. It's a lot worse. And so it's very difficult to say, give them a chance. I don't mean to speak for anyone else. It's very difficult for me to say, give them a chance, because what we do have doesn't sound better. I think the song and dance sounds good, but when we get to the evidence, it's not good at all. And so I'm wondering, do you really in your heart of hearts believe that it's going to be so very different from what Rocketship has done in their existing campuses? And why do you believe that? If that's a true statement, why do you believe that?
Is there any of the four that would like to answer that question? Any other questions, Ms. Pettis? Okay. Any other questions from members for this group? All right, seeing none, we thank you for your time. We will call on the next group of testifiers.
Aisha Malone, Jasmine Jenkins, Jessica Gomez, Kimberly Truss. Aisha Malone.
Good morning. My name is Yaisha Malone, and I am a parent of a Fort Worth ISD student. And as a parent in the Fort Worth ISD community, I do believe that this is a great opportunity that has presented itself, not only for the community, but for the children. Seeing early on that the best interest of not only my child, but myself, as a parent in the community, is top priority. It makes this program stand out. I appreciate that there is something more out there that not only targets the needs for our children, but something they can be a part of and feel safe doing so. We all have one thing in common, and that is the betterment of ourselves, our children, and our communities for the children's sake. I want nothing more than to see this program become a huge success, because that's what's needed in a generation so that they can soar like never before. Thank you.
Jasmine Jenkins.
Good morning. My name is Jasmine Jenkins. I recently completed cycle 3 of TEA's principal residency grant. As a young school administrator, I've learned that there's pretty much one question that it all comes down to. Are we doing what's best for kids? Rocketship is seeking to specifically serve students who are often looked over, mislabeled, and have a very large number of learning gaps. They're doing this through the use of scaffolds, differentiation, and student interventions that target specific student deficiencies. I am also a former reading and writing teacher at the elementary school, very close to where Rocketship is seeking to transform the community. Again, a very large number of these students are at risk, meaning they're more likely to experience academic failure than they are success. They are economically disadvantaged. They are not meeting their year-to-year progress academically, and they are not growing from year to year. This is shown consistently in taper reports, RDA accountability data, and school report cards. Rocketship Texas has the opportunity to significantly improve the learning experience of all students, especially those in these minority subgroups and subpopulations that they serve, therefore pushing them towards success. While I understand the difference in funding and things of that nature, I also understand that we need to serve the students in this community better. The establishment of Rocketship schools in Fort Worth, Texas presents new opportunities to bridge partnerships with our community stakeholders and engage families in the education of their child. Research shows that these things contribute to meaningful engagement and learning and can propel students to reach their fullest potential. So again, my question is truly, are we doing what's best for kids? Because in this specific community, best does not always look like mainstream traditional public schools. And Rocketship is truly seeking to better address these needs and most importantly, better serve the students in this community. Thank you.
Jessica Gomez. Kimberly Truss.
Good morning, everyone. I'm a parent of 2 children, 5 and 13 years old here in Fort Worth, and I am supporting Rocketship. I would like for my children to be able to receive a quality, nurturing education so they can grow into productive adults. I've experienced the education gap in my community with my oldest son. He was at a great school district, but due to my job, we had to move, and immediately I noticed the difference. His grades fell. He didn't feel cared for or supported by his teachers. I didn't feel like I had a voice, and they were just trying to move him along. And so I would like an opportunity like Rocketship in my community and for my children. In previous schools we were part of, I didn't feel like I had a voice. And with Rocketship, they have what's called, what you see, a parent organizing committee. And I have a voice. I'm up here. I'm able to speak up for my children. Through this process, I've learned like the whole education system and the choices that parents have and how policies work and the role of public officials that they have in shaping education in my community. And this is why I decided to get involved as a parent leader and continue to support Rocketship. And I understand that the other school districts may feel affected by that, but does that mean that our children have to suffer because the other school districts are getting what their children need? And we want the same thing for our children. Thank you.
Rose Nishiba.
Good morning. I'm Rosemary, Nashville Superintendent at Lake Worth ISD in Tarrant County. We are one of 20 public schools in Tarrant County. I'd like to urge each board member to deny the Rocketship charter application this morning. As the superintendent of a small school district with 3,400 students, I can report that the opening of a Rocketship campus I think they're located near us, would be devastating to our budget at $1.2 to $3.8 million. And we are one of their targeted districts, according to the application. The revenue loss is a significant percentage of our budget. We cannot cut dollar for dollar and still provide the services that we're currently providing. If we lose a few students at every grade level across multiple campuses, we don't reduce staff. We still have to have the same number of bus drivers, still have to have the same electricity bill. So as a district, we've committed all available resources to our children. We started out the year with 2 mental health providers. When we saw a need during the middle of the pandemic, we added 2 additional mental health providers. We have social workers on every campus, as well as campus counselors and other support instructional staff. I think we're doing an excellent job with that, and I think we respond when there is a need identified. Prior to the pandemic, we had something called Transformation 2020, We reorganized our district, established an early learning academy. And I think one of our strengths is we identify our needs and we move forward and try to address those needs. Our district's about 9% economically disadvantaged, and it did grow during the pandemic. We cannot work with less money, and we are addressing our needs. And I hear the parents' concerns. I think we're as strong as the parents who support us. There are 20 school districts. I want to remind you, we will suffer if they open in our school district financially. We're doing a good job. We're in.
Go ahead and finish your thought there. You want to finish your thought?
Well, just that we have been transparent through all of our processes. We've included families. I have to say that we've not felt that way about Rocketship. I've had board members, I have a strong school board. They've attended some of the meetings. There's a true lack of transparency we would not do that. So thank you.
Thank you. I believe that is 4, correct? All right, we will ask the 4 who just testified to come back to the podium, please, for any questions from members. I got Ms. Hardy first, then Dr. Young.
Kimberly, were you the one that said you have 13-year-olds? Okay, I'd like to ask you, where was your child going to school before you had to move?
Richardson ISD.
Good school.
Really good school district.
And
we
what
moved to
school
Tarrant
does he
County.
attend right now?
When we moved to Tarrant County, he was in Arlington ISD.
In Arlington ISD?
Yes, ma'am.
And do you now live in the Stop 6 area?
I work in the Stop 6 area. I do an after-school program, and so I am the mom to about 15, 20 children, and I monitor their grades, and they all go to the schools in that area and they all struggle, and that's why I'm here. I'm fighting for them as well as my 6-year-old.
Okay, and there are no, in the District 5, which is where they're building Rocketship or would like to build Rocketship, there are no charter schools in that district, is that correct?
That's correct, and no parent power.
Okay, thank you. Rosemary, I'd like to ask Rosemary some questions. I want to say, first of all, Rosemary is the kind of example of administration and leadership that we need throughout Texas. She's taken on a school that was failing in every way. And I commend you on what you have been able to do and are doing. And I think it needs to be clear to this audience that her school wouldn't be affected by Rocketship at all. The Rocketship is not anywhere in her area, but if Rocketship continued to expand, which is one of the problems that we're having in understanding our position as the State Board of Education, when we approve one school, then of course it allows the expansion of that particular school, which is where I think most of us feel the constraint on voting for any of the charter schools is the expansion of charter schools, because we want to see very much the charter school open in the area in which we're hearing the concern. But one of the things that I would like to say is that these students in this school they are like yours was when you first got there. And I understand you have done really remarkable things and so forth, but I don't think the budget will be affected as much as you losing students to a charter school if a charter school were to move into your area. Is that what you're concerned with? Or
Well, if I could address several things.
Sure.
One, I think they have applied to open 4 schools in Tarrant County, and we only know the address of one or the location of one.
Right.
We don't know whether the other 3 are, so they could very well land in my part of Tarrant County. When we look at our data of the students who leave us to go to charters, currently we have about 200 students who go to charters. Now, I did look at the application earlier when it was submitted. So yes, and I don't think through the public meetings it's been made clear where those other 3 locations would be. And yes, when I got to Lake Worth, we had a D-rated district. We were at a C. Had the pandemic not hit, I think we could have shown considerable growth. But in the meantime, our priorities have shifted so that we're trying to meet the physical needs, emotional needs of our children.
Well, the thing about it is, if if in, say, what is it, 4 years, 3 years that you can expand from that, 3 years? If you were given a little bit more of time to build your school up, do you think that it would be as much of a problem to have another a charter school in there if you were building up? And is my understanding from the Rocketship people that they really want to go into failing areas. That is their MO. Let's go to where the schools are totally failing. So if you bring your schools up to a B, which I can conceivably see you doing, and she was the only one just disappointed they weren't taking the STAR test in 2020. But I anticipate that you will bring your school up to a B campus before long, because I do know you have a very dedicated staff.
I have a great staff. Now, if you say 6,500 per student that we're losing, those 200 we're losing, I think it's around 1.3 million right now.
Right, right.
So
but
if another charter
they
moves
could come
in,
back when you bring that school up to a B campus.
well, from listening to this morning's testimony, I think we'll have to do a really good job at promoting all the great things we're doing.
You really
do. I think there's miscommunication with communities.
But I don't think that they're referencing your situation because they are in a totally different section of Fort Worth.
But I have to say that anytime a parent speaks, we need to reflect on that. And so now I can go back and say, are we truly listening to our families? If these families have concerns, we need to look at those concerns as well.
And that's why I like you, Rosemary.
Okay.
Thank you.
Pat.
Superintendent, thank you for being here. Question, when you talk about 200 students and we're looking at FTEs and 22 to 1 at the elementary levels, how many teachers is that you're going to have to lose in order to meet that student to teacher requirement when you lose students?
Well, let's just say the 200 we're talking right now, they could be scattered out pre-K through 12. And with that, you may not lose a teacher. You may have one here or there. Now, one of the things we have started doing is after school starts, we may have to shift an elementary teacher from one campus to another. But there's no guarantee that we can reduce staffing because we lose students, because it's not just one grade level that you're losing 44 or 88 students.
So on the flip side of that, then the district has to learn to survive with the $1.3 million loss.
That's correct.
And yet maintain the same level of education, the same number of the teachers for the students. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And so we still provide buses for all of those students, correct?
That's correct.
And we still provide food for all of the students, correct?
We do, and we're in a situation where every student in our district receives a free breakfast and lunch.
Free breakfast and lunch and free transportation.
That's correct.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, thanks Superintendent for being here today. So we hear a lot from charter advocates about how schools should be run like businesses, and charters are actually structured so that they can really run like businesses. And one of the differences is like teachers in a charter school basically serve as at-will employees and can be hired and fired at will. So if the second or third Rocketship campus, which right now they're a chain, a charter chain nationwide. And they've actually said we are going to open additional campuses in Tarrant County. So if in 2 or 3 years you get one that's in your district, and let's say you lose 5% of your kids to the new Rocketship school that's in your district, would you be able to eliminate 5% of your employees?
No, sir. We could not eliminate just 5% of your budget. You can't do a dollar for dollar exchange on something like that.
And so you would you have to cut programs, or what would you have to do then if you were to lose 5% of your income, basically?
We would have to cut programs. The wealth of resources we've been able to provide this year, like the mental health services, I think we listened to our community, found value in that. I would hate to lose something like that, because our families who don't have resources to travel can find mental health support in the school system, and it's confidential and at no cost to them. And it's because there was an outcry for more help, we added 2 additional counselors in January of
And
this
those
school year.
programs which are vital, because you said, especially in your district, because you said earlier that, I think you said 90% of your kids are on free and reduced lunch, economically disadvantaged.
9%, yes, sir.
Dr. Nashville, first, thank you for being here.
Thank you.
Did Rocketship have meetings anywhere else except Southwest Fort Worth?
Not to my knowledge.
Southeast.
Southeast, okay.
So it was, so it's 2 communities or one? And it wasn't Southwest, it was only Southeast?
Only Southeast.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so the intention as, and I'm saying this to quote my colleague, the Rocketship only intends to assist in school districts or campuses that are low performing, right? But the majority of districts that they're applying to are not.
You know, what I know about Southeast Fort Worth is that it's an area that they would like to see some growth.
Right.
Again, that's the only campus we know of an identified location. We're not sure where the other 3, I think they're applying for 4 campuses, and correct me if I'm wrong. I don't know where the other 3, I don't know the locations of the other 3.
Right, right. Well, that's the one of the numerous issues with the application, right? So this is their 4th application. So in their 3rd application, it was 10. In their 4th application, perhaps it's 4. But we both know that once it's approved, expansion, you know, it grows like, you know, without much oversight, correct? And so knowing that there are 20 school districts, right? Is that correct? There are 20 school districts, right? They could grow into any one of them. That's right. Correct. And based on past activity from not only Rocketship, but other charters that have fast growth expansion, when they begin and the intention is to serve underserved communities, they open a lottery system, they expand throughout Tarrant County, 20 ISDs. Where did the bulk of the students come from then? And how equitable is that? Based on your knowledge, based on your experience.
I've learned more about charters than I thought I could ever know, having taken this job in Lake Worth 3 years ago. One of the things I learned last year through all of this process is that some expansion has taken place in A-rated districts, not Rocketship because that's separate, but
right.
2 examples would be Hayes CISD and Mansfield.
Right.
They've both had charter expansion and they're A and B districts. I don't understand that because that was not the original intent.
Right.
Originally, charters were designed to be type of lab schools to practice and relay best practices. That's not what's happening right now. We've got 2 competing systems in the state, and we're all trying to do the same thing, but the accountability is not the same. The rules are not the same for serving children and serving the community, whether it's having a locally elected school board or an appointed board from, they may not know our children or our community. So,
or our state.
Or our state either,
Yeah.
Correct. So I think there's some frustration in the unknown and the fact that we have boundaries and guidelines, and yet our state is not following those state guidelines.
So based on the application, the way it's written, focusing on where the one facility may be, is it fair to say that it won't have much impact on your school district or nearby ISDs in your community?
Southeast Fort Worth will not, because my parents struggle with transportation. That's not going to be a big temptation. However, what we noticed when we tracked the 200 that we have lost to charter schools that are, one's in White Settlement, one's in Eagle Mountain, Saginaw. What we have noticed is those parents have the means to get their children there. So you don't want to have segregation with the haves and the have-nots. That's
Right.
another concern we have. So
Right.
their proposed campus will not, I don't see it having a large impact on us. It's the other three that we don't know and haven't been able to find out where they want to go.
So do you find it that if you have students who have parents of means, that it's not an issue for them to drive 30 minutes, 45 minutes to another school? Because what we're, in my district, what we're highly concerned with is that separation, that segregated example of, if you've got more means, you're going to this school. If you can get your child there, you can go to this school if you believe it to be better, right? And when this occurs, there's a lottery system that starts to pull children from all districts. And in that lottery system, any charter operator has the ability to then pick and choose. Correct. It's far more likely for the students who have higher scores and fewer challenges to be the lottery winners. Again, based on recent past predicting the near future. How does that impact your community and neighboring ISDs?
It creates issues in that we don't have a variety of students from. Your community is stronger when the community is there involved in the school.
Right.
So when you have your top performing students leaving, you lose role models, you lose family engagement. I look at our secondary campus, our band, our athletic programs, our mariachi program. I see that the programs that are more successful have that parental support and the parental involvement.
Right.
So when we lose students who are academically sound, we also lose a strong family base, and that's huge to building a community school. We're a single member high school, and so all of our children grow up to be bullfrogs, and we want to keep our children there. And I hope I addressed you.
Yes, ma'am.
I could go on and on.
Right.
We have
As could I. Thank you for your answers.
Rosemary, I'd like a clarification. When you're talking about your 200 students, those are students that right now have left Lake Worth ISD.
Yes.
And ideally, if you were to be in the next 2-3 years at B campus, those families conceivably have other children would be coming back. That's what you want to do, is build that community of Lake Worth so that they would be coming back to that school.
Absolutely.
And I can see that happening because of your dedication and your work with your community. The area that we're talking about would affect not any of the 20 school districts around. I promise you, not any of the 20 districts would be affected by the Rocketship, except one that borders right to the south of them. That would be Everman ISD might be affected. I've heard several people say they've been in Everman schools. But the point is, if these folks do not get their charter school, they don't get Rocketship, they don't get anything, because they are in an education desert, if you will. They have no support because there's not another charter school for the kids to go to. And Fort Worth ISD has numerous F and D rated campuses. Ideally, they would be able to, if Rocketship is listening, if they would concentrate on improving the school areas within Fort Worth ISD, there is great justification for their existence going into underperforming schools and working in that one ISD. I can tell you there's schools like that surround your area, Aledo ISD, all those schools are outstanding schools, Keller and all those stuff. And they don't want a charter school that relates to underserved community. They don't really have that many underserved. They do have some, I'm sure, but not to the extent that you're talking about. Small school districts like Castleberry have worked really hard to build a strong foundation. I taught at Castleberry.
And they're my neighbor.
And right there, they don't need that competition. They are working hard to provide what they need for their students. So if, in fact, you knew beyond a shadow of a doubt, and I know there's a shadow, but
Definite
beyond a shadow of a doubt, that there would not be a school going into your backyard from this organization, could you support the school that would be helping the people in the Stop 6 area?
I don't have enough information to give you. I mean, when I know that there are 3 undetermined sites, I can't say that. I have concerns, and I think I've expressed them. I think you've all received letters from the west side of Fort Worth superintendents. I think, and I did get a copy of the application. I did go through it. I just have too many concerns. And again, I'm here as an advocate for Lake Worth ISD. Yes, ma'am.
Hold on just a second.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Do you have any other questions?
that's
Okay,
okay.
I've got Ms. Perez Diaz, and I got Ms. Davis, I got Dr. Young, and I got Ms. Perez.
I wanted to ask, I know you mentioned in your testimony that there's some concern for transparency,
And I'd ask that you, if you can elaborate a little bit on what issues with transparent or with lack of transparency you are aware of regarding the process or their application, whatever. I just would like for you to elaborate a little bit on that, if you would.
Okay, I guess in January of 2020, I found out about a meeting that Rocketship was conducting over at the Lake Worth City Public Library. And I found out about it when one of our ladies that works in one of our cafeterias, child nutrition, came by and asked, she had a door flyer and wanted to know if we were opening a new school. And so I had no idea. I contacted my board presidents and the board members. Are y'all aware of this? No one knew about it. And so it was like January 12th or 14th. And so I worked late that day. I thought I'll just pop in and see what's going on because I've gotten an education on the process through being involved with it since January. And parents had been invited. Several of our parents were there and 2 of my board members also showed up. So that was one concern. When we found out this process was earlier this year than it was during the pandemic, I was notified, I did not see it, from a board member that Rocketship had a closed Facebook page and you could be a part of that by invitation only. So I think those are the transparency concerns we have. Some people on our board have done some research, of course, on their California practices. And once people found out where I was involved, I got lots of information regarding their practices and teacher to student ratio, how they handle funding, all kinds of issues. So I hope that, I think I answered your question. There's just not been a lot of transparency outside of select group.
Understood. Thank you, Rosemary. The only clarification I wanted to make was in terms of I guess the process being early. That wasn't anything that Rocketship had any control over. That was something that TEA is responsible for. So in terms of the process being a little earlier and in that regard, that's something the Texas Education Agency oversees. Thank you for that. And the only other question I had, and I'm not sure that you're able to answer this, but if you are, because I know that our superintendents across the state work very closely together. So to Member Hardy's point, in terms of options for the school districts, are you familiar with, and again, please forgive me, I don't know that this is a completely fair question, but because you work with your colleagues, are you aware of anything that Fort Worth ISD has in terms of strategic planning to offer options in those areas that may potentially be affected by the implementation of Rocketship?
I do not know. I cannot speak on their behalf. I know Dr. Scrivener, we've not discussed that. I tend to work more with the smaller school superintendents.
Okay, very good. Thank you. Thank you for that.
Ms. Davis?
Thank you. My question is also for the superintendent. I remember as a teacher in DeSoto, we would get students who would come back from charter schools because we would start to implement a lot of really innovative programs. And so to kind of follow up with Member Hardy, I'm quite sure you guys will be at a B or even an A because of your leadership. You likely will start to get those students who will be coming back to you. They may not have had experience or exposure or access to some of the things that you've been able to offer. So can you tell me some of the implications of if we give them that opportunity and then your school district increases and they start coming back to you? Can you tell me some of the things that may or may not happen when it comes to making sure those students are up to the same level as the students that you've had, one-on-one experience with the full time?
Thank you. We are partnering with a TEA group called Resilient Schools, and they brought some ideas to the table, some things we're already working on. We are streamlining curriculum. We are putting more resources on our campuses through the ESSER funding. We will have instructional coaches per campus, some things we already have in place that will help transition children. Another issue we faced, some of our children went to Mexico during the pandemic and they're coming back to us. And they're going to have some issues academically that we're anticipating already. So with that in mind, I can tell you we're looking at math and reading coaches on every campus. We already have a math coach and a reading coach per campus that work individually with students. And our special ed numbers, I think my first year there, we did a special ed audit. We have changed our practices in special ed. Our numbers are growing because we're serving our children, meeting their needs. I think we have tier 1, tier 2, and tier 3 options in place. One of our goals through this Resilient Schools process is to target our tier 1 instruction and enhance it so that every student receives tier 1 instruction in person. And we want that to be such a high level, we don't need the tier 2 and tier 3 as often. Those are areas that we're really focused on right now. And we're working on those things already in preparation for August starting back up. When we start looking at schedules, how soon can we get those support, how soon can the support staff start serving students? Well, the first 5 to 7 days, we expect schedules in place and students to be supported. We're also looking at after-school tutorials, Saturday tutorials. We're looking at a parenting piece to have parent involvement, Spanish speaking. We have 19 or 21 languages spoken in our school district. So we're going to focus on meeting our families' needs. And I can tell you, we did an end of the year survey with families and students. And I think through that, we've done a lot of reflection and we're changing some of the practices when school starts. Ms. Davis, did I answer that?
Yes, it seems like it's going to take quite a few additional resources to make sure that those students who would come back would be on grade level, reading level, and ready to fly with the rest of your students. So thank you.
Who did I say next? Was it? Dr.
Superintendent, Miss Board Member Davis touched on some of the question that I actually had, so I want to refine it just a little bit more. One of the questions that I had for Rocketship when in the interview process was, how is it that you're going to baseline your students so you can provide individual attention to each of their specific needs as it's mentioned? And the other question was, what curriculum will you be utilizing in that? And so to refine Member Davis's question just a little bit more, could you speak to us about the alignment of their curriculum to the curriculum that's offered in your system, as well as how we identified students at their baseline level and what growth looks like for those students that come back, transition back from charter programs?
We have a really strong reading assessment program, and I cannot remember the letters right now, so forgive me for that. But we're actually using it in summer school too. We brought interventionists into our summer school, so that it's not just the summer school teacher providing services. So that's another step. The program we're using, we have teachers at every elementary school trained in using this reading assessment program. It tells you where they are and offers suggestions on interventions, trying to catch the students up. So that's one huge piece. We have several pieces to assess in math and reading, which is our targeted areas, of course, in the elementary levels. Some are computerized. One of the things when I referenced the survey is we found from our teachers that we had a lot of resources, but we weren't maximizing our resources. So through that conversation, we're streamlining what we do. We have our own curriculum, but we're also going back to the Teach resource system because we're a small district. What we're finding now is we have instructional coaches that are pulling resources in to support that. Now we do the guided reading. We have the Fontes and Pinnell that we're focused on at the elementary. So we've got that on our own curriculum in place. We feel very strongly about that. We are using the Gomez and Gomez model for our bilingual students. But we're also assessing that program as well to say, are we meeting our children's needs? If they're second or third generation, is that the best program? So everything we're doing, I think we're evaluating as we go along, but I can promise you we have systems in place for the beginning of school year. And we've set a goal of providing services by the 8th day of instruction.
Thank you.
So I do want to clarify something because I think it was said earlier, and Ms. Hardy, if you will, please correct me if I misquote you here. I believe you said that there is an education desert in near the proposed location of the Rocketship facility, but there are 8 charter elementary facilities within 5 miles of the proposed Rocketship facility, and number 9 coming in is a newly approved expansion of IDEA. And I don't mean to say that the charters that exist there are good. There are some D and F rated in that list of 8. But to say that there is no choice, I don't believe is a fair statement. Knowing that you don't have to enroll your child in any particular charter based on where you live, you can take your child anywhere. I also don't believe that it's a fair statement to say that that there's a guarantee that it won't impact your school district or any other school district. We're looking at upwards of $4 billion in additional cost to the state, which ultimately is taxpayer dollars, to fund a duplicative system. So when we have additional dollars being pulled from the education budget to fund additional charters, it will have a financial impact on every ISD campus. It's not fair to say it's in a desert, and it's not fair to say that there is no impact. There is a very real hardship being placed on ISDs with different accountabilities, with different rules, with a different funding mechanism. It is an undue burden, not only on the ISD, but on the taxpayer, on the homeowner, on the property owner. It's just and again, correct me where I go wrong. It's not fair to say. It's because it's just not the truth.
I think you have to live in Fort Worth to understand this situation, but the area that they're talking about is a specific community that's an old community, and it's gone through a lot of problems over the years, but it's still very inculcated with the people who've grown up in that community. And so it forms a district within the Fort Worth ISD school district, and there are no other charters within that area, but it's a very concentrated area where these people have their churches and their community center and their whatever, and they would like to have a school, a true neighborhood school. And I know 5 miles doesn't sound very far to you, but it does seem far to those people in that area to have to travel those 5 miles to find another school that they could go to. And so the idea of a neighborhood school does not exist. Now, there are other areas in Fort Worth that there are some very good neighborhood schools. And I think that would be what these people that are here today would like to see to take place right there. And I totally understand the idea of what's happening down the road and what people would be concerned with. But I really would like to see something happening for this group of people. And I promise you, no one beyond that little area is going to be affected by this, because it's you can't even get halfway across town now in 30 minutes, Fort Worth. It is becoming Austin. And so there is not that problem of transportation and communication. It needs to be concentrated in that one section of town. And I might tell you that there is a lot of community support throughout Fort Worth for this in regard to our current mayor, our former mayor, some of the city council people, because they realize that this is a dearth in this particular area that needs help in education.
Mr. Cortez?
Yeah, if I can just, I guess, follow up on that, because I did find the use of the term educational desert, and I guess to help me as we listen to other testifiers and throughout this week, as we come to a final decision this week, it sounds like Fort Worth is doing nothing in your estimation. I mean, have you, what has Scribner told you when you sat with him and said, hey, these communities need help? Or do you know of anything that the agency is doing to address this concern? I mean, you've been on the board 15, 16 years, right? So I'm sure you know this region more than anybody else because it's the area you directly represent. I also assume you've spent a lot of time in these schools, have had conversations with maybe even some of these parents who are being impacted to the degree that they feel that they need to rise up and support something new because what's happening in their hometown or in their neighborhood isn't working. I'm just wondering what is Fort Worth doing to address this educational desert, or is TA involved at any effort to try to address this?
I'll let that last question slide from Member Pettis to Member Hardy, but I think we really need to focus on the testifiers. We will reminder.
It kind of helps me to know. I mean, if it truly is an educational desert, I kind of get an idea.
And remember that, yeah, I'll give you a real quick.
Because I've also seen the
hold
data.
on just a
that
second, hold on just a second,
Pettis
Mr. Cortez.
talked about,
Hold on just a second.
Sharon.
I'll give Ms. Hardy a quick time, but I do want to, we need to stop after that, having conversations among ourselves. This is public testimony, a time for us to hear from the public, and a reminder that we will have time tomorrow as we interview the charter applicants to have further discussion. So real quickly.
Maybe I'll reframe my question to the superintendent.
That'd be great. Perfect.
And ask her if she believes there's an educational desert in Fort Worth. Because this is the first I hear of this educational desert. And I interact with my superintendents all the time, right? I call them and say, what can I do? Is there anything that you need from us, right? Sure. I'm just wondering, have you heard of this educational desert?
No, sir. That is, I'm fairly new to the Metroplex. I'm starting my fourth year in Lake Worth. I've been focused in my own little world, I'll be honest with you. I know the superintendents network a lot, but I've heard stories, but I'm not familiar with that part of Fort Worth or that part of Fort Worth ISD. Sorry.
Okay, any other questions from members to this group of testifiers? All right, I'm seeing none, so I thank you all very much for your time here, and we will call on the next group of four.
Lisa McDaniels, Samia Brown, Jaleisha Jackson, Sharon Griffin. Lisa McDaniels.
Morning. Good afternoon. Texas State Board of Education members. My name is Lisa McDaniel, and I am the owner of Lisa Little Angels Learning Center in the heart of Stop 6. And I don't want to get personal because I'm on the ground working for the last 20 years. COVID-19 is when I got introduced to Rocketship. I know everybody was at home and masked down and didn't come outside. As an early learning provider, that didn't happen to us. We had to stay open. We had to try to find services, no services. No, we couldn't find anyone to help us. We had kids that Chromebooks wasn't working. We had families that was hungry. So when you guys say, why y'all have on the purple shirts and how y'all got here, that don't matter. What matters is Stop 6 needed help, and they still do need help. So for us to cry out and we worried about other stuff, you don't know how it is when a family has to sleep in their car in front of your learning center. You don't know how it is when a family comes and say they don't have food. You don't know how it is to help a parent to go pay their bills. So you want to say, why y'all have on purple shirts and how y'all got here, that doesn't matter. When you have a kid in first grade and come to your summer program and on a pre-K level, you want to know why we have on purple shirts? Because Rocketship chose to come and serve in our community. Thank you.
Samia Brown.
Whew. Okay. Hello, State Board of Education members. Thank you for listening to our testimonies. My name is Cherie Brown, and I am a mother of three, ages 25, 19, and 8. I am a proud longtime resident of the Stop Six community. I attended school, elementary, middle school, high school there, okay? I believe Rocketship inclusion model will help make my son not feel different because of his learning disability. My son attends elementary school right now in the Stop Six area. And when we first put him in the school, I'm gonna try to make this fast as possible. And they recognized, well, they didn't recognize, we recognized he had a learning disability, and I brought it to the school's attention. I didn't have the feedback and the help that I needed. So I'm a parent advocate with Rocketship because, long story short, my older two kids attended a better school district. When I was married, I'm not married no more, so I came back to where I started at. I want my son to be able to have the same education opportunities that my older two had. And I believe Rocketship will be able to help them because, like some of the other testimonies and the parents said, it's the parent support. I heard a lot of people talking about charter schools. At the end of the day, none of the charter schools will exist if our school district was doing what they were supposed to do. If they was knocking on doors to see if progress reports was coming home or making those phone calls. I'm gonna hurry. My feelings is just upset, but I'm just saying all that to say this. I heard, I think, I don't know which one, I don't want to put nothing on nobody. They say, I assume you're gonna come up to a grade A or grade B. Why come y'all can't assume Rocketship can do the same thing? That's all I'm saying. So, and it shouldn't matter how we got here, just know that we are here. And I got testimonies from all of the people, other parents that couldn't take off work or sacrifice because of school, that couldn't make it, feel with it. So it's not where you're at, it's where you want to be. And if it was in Fort Worth, y'all see a whole lot of more purple t-shirts.
Jaleisha Jackson.
Hello, my name is Jaleisha Jackson, and I'm a child care owner in the Fort Worth area. Rocketship demonstrated collaborative effort and inclusion in the community with parents, organization, and other community leaders. This is what our community leads in our schools, to be seen as partners. By launching Rocketship Texas, we make a smart investment in the future of our kids and our community. Rocketship has my full support, and I hope that you'll see the bigger picture and approve the charter application. Thank you.
Sharon Griffin.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. First of all, my name is Sharon Griffin, and I'm here today because I work and live in a community of a proposed charter school, which is called Heritage Classical Academy. I was very excited to hear about that charter school coming up in my neighborhood because I have a niece that has 5 kids, all under the age of 11 years old. And they are now currently going to, they are currently in the Aldine School District, which is, I really can't think of a word to describe the situation there, but it starts with behavior issues. I was afforded the opportunity to go to college along with all of my siblings, and get a college education. And I would love to see that these children do the same. Unfortunately for me, I did not have kids, but with my niece at the age of 30 years old with 5 kids, they need some structure. And after I went and visited the events that the Heritage School was having, and I focused on dual languages, is something they really need to have now, especially Spanish and other languages that's coming up in the community. So I'm standing here today just proposing that the Heritage Classic Academy will be given an opportunity to open up the charter school in that community for the ability of my 5 nieces and nephews. Thank you.
All right, members, that's 4 testifiers. I would ask those 4 to come back up to the podium for any questions from members. I'm going to start with Mr. Allen.
Lisa Mcdaniel. Yes, sir. I'm going to start on the assumption that you didn't intend to upset me or offend me,
No, I didn't.
but I'm gonna let you know you did.
Okay, I'm sorry if I did.
Based
I'm
on
just got emotional, I'm sorry.
Yes, ma'am. Based on the
Sorry.
fact that on the other side of this road are people who care about children as well, and circumstances in their community as well. That's why I would serve. I just wanted to say that. That it's because there's a rope there,
Yes, sir.
does not mean we're not in touch with those who are less fortunate in ourselves or who are having struggles.
Yes, sir.
So I wanted to give you an opportunity to clarify that passion, because in the way you presented it, is that was you all over there and we're over
No,
here,
no.
and you may not understand. I'm gonna finish, you need your way to clarify. You may not understand what we're
Yes, sir.
facing in our community or what we need in our community.
Yes, sir.
So I want a little less passion
Okay.
and a little bit more structure to what you're saying to me. So when you leave me, we can be on one accord.
Yes, and we are. I'm so sorry. And when you're out, and it's nothing against you guys, when you, I guess when you in the community, I'm in the heart of it. And when you see so much in the community, you take a lot of that home with you. And when you're trying to do so much and you can't, and you don't have the funding, and you start to go into your bank account, you're screaming out for help, and a lot of times there's nobody out there to help. So it's nothing against you guys. I'm glad to come here today. So it's nothing against you guys, because a lot of times, just because we are in the Stop 6 area, like I think Miss Cecilia Paris, she was saying about the feeding. She was like, well, are y'all getting feeding, and aren't they doing this? And yes, they are. But what happens with that mom that don't have transportation, that she can't go get that hot meal or whatever meal they're providing because there's no transportation. So what I'm saying, if you're not there, I'm not saying you don't care. No, please don't think that. If you're not there, she's not gonna know that, because she's not there unless I said something about it. But if you're not there, you don't know. We know there's parents over there probably is not getting this, not getting services. But if you're not there, that's different. But no, please don't think like that. Please, it's not like that. It's the passion. And when you have so much on you and you're doing so much and you see the need and you can't do it, it's a lot. It's like you being a father. And I'm just saying, well, you've been a father and you can't provide for your child. So are we good now? Okay. So it's like that. So it's like me in the community, and I can't provide for Sarah, because Sarah just came and said, oh, my light's getting cut off and it's $500. Ooh, Sarah. But I'm gonna try to make it work, try to make it pile around and see what we can do. So are we friends now?
So I want to say this for clarity's sake, and even though the passion comes out.
Yes, sir.
Then the question is, how does that attach itself to Rocketship? And if Rocketship is coming in and saying, okay, are we addressing all of these food needs and all that? And it can be misunderstood.
Yes, sir.
Because there is a rationale here that says there's something to gain. Am I trying to gain a relationship so that your children will come into my school, and I don't want that misunderstood. So if I say that in a sense of caregiving, and when I was looking for an entity to help me, this particular entity did help me.
Yes.
And others wouldn't. I don't want anybody to think that Rocketship has an ulterior motive. That's the piece I'm trying to say.
Okay, gotcha.
So we have to be
Gotcha.
very careful in how
Yes,
we
of course.
present that.
Yes.
Else you're saying they're winning your passion by giving you what I call trinkets.
And I'm gonna say something on that. When Rocketship came, so you have to understand, I'm an early learning center, and it's kind of weird, but kids. So everybody's looking for kids. I'm just saying, everybody looking for kids or whatever. So we have tons of charter schools around us. So they come bring our cars, they cars by, and how many kids you have, what color kids you have in your center. This happens. So in my mind, I don't know Rocketship. So the first thing I'm gonna think, oh, y'all coming to do the same thing too? So that's what happened to us. When you're in a disadvantaged community, there's a thing called numbers. I know you want to know about that, right? Okay, so you can smell it. So that is what happens to us. So kind of feel where I'm kind of coming in, and that we never have anybody that wants to say, okay, we're here to support or whatever. Is how many kids you got? How many numbers you got? How many Black kids you got? How many white kids you got? How many Hispanic kids you got? Because they're getting funded and it's grants. So in that area, that is what happens to us. So are we friends now? Oh, God. Okay.
Okay, my name is Sharon Griffin. Actually, what happened, like I say, I work and live in the community, and I support my niece heavily. Excuse me? Acres Home. Yes, it is. In Wood. Okay. So I'm a big promote of my niece. I do a lot for her, considering. So I was taking the kids to daycare, and they had some flyers and things going around about this Heritage Academy, Classical Academy, and was invited to one of their events. And I went, and I just kind of liked the process, what they were offering for the kids in that community, giving them choices. Because right now they don't have any choices. It's what it is. Either you're gonna go to this school or that school, can't afford private school. Tried to get it in some Montessori school, one of the kids, but that didn't happen. She has a older son that's about 11 years old. He's in the Alden School District, and his mother was told that he had intellectual ID. And didn't quite understand what that was, but I do know what his behavior is. He does not know his name sometimes. Sometimes he can't read at all. However, they keep putting him in the next grade. I mean, I don't understand how he get to be in the 5th grade. Okay, all right, so please do, but nevertheless, those are the reasons for my concerns for that school. I would like to see them have some more choices.
Anything else, Mr. Allen? All right, I got Ms. Hardy.
The lady that's up there now. I love the fact that you are not the mom, but the aunt, wanting the best for your children.
Yes.
And that you have that kind of love for your family.
Do what now?
That you have that kind of love for your family.
Oh, yeah, them my babies. I got to do
appreciate
that. Yeah. Thank you.
I think there's 4 that came up to testify today, and we will call on the next 4.
Angela James, Christina Brown, Yolanda Saban, Sandra Petties. Angela James.
I say good morning to you all, to the commissioner, to the state board. Again, my name is Angela James. I'm a director also for Early Learning Center in the Heart of Stop 6. I have been following Rocketship as well since the pandemic, and their dedication to me and our community has been nothing but great. Rocketship, to me, they truly care about our community. They thrive to be a resource hub for our families. And when I say resource hubs, in our area, as well as Miss Mcdaniel, we're on the same street in Stop 6. I've reached out to numerous schools in our area for like different help. You know, sometimes I know everybody's busy. I also used to work in Arlington ISD at Sam Houston High School. And I know as a teacher, you get busy, but I needed a interpreter one day. And so I'm like, who can I call? I need some help. So I called two of the schools. They didn't have anyone that could help me. So I reached out to Laddie, and she's a member of Rocketship. And she helped me, you know, to communicate with a parent that wanted to enroll. And so I really thank them for that, because that's what a partnership is, working together. I also feel that Rocketship bring positively impact to the lives of those in our community. And our students struggle a lot in that area. And when I say struggle a lot, I'm talking about the surrounding schools in the Stop 6 area, also the AM Pate area and the CC Mouse area, and all in that region 5. We don't have a charter school in that area of in that District 5 right there in that area. So I think Rocketship would be great to come in and help the families that's in need for their children. I support Rocketship for it. Thank you.
Christina Brown.
My name is Christina Brown, and I'm a proud parent in the Fort Worth community. As someone who is big on youth development and community outreach, I love that Rocketship has already done a lot for the Fort Worth community. Rocketship understands that parents are a vital contributor in the holistic success of children. When parents are encouraged and engaged in their child's education, it is understood that they have a positive effect, and they are now capable to advocate for their community and their child. This is how Rocketship Texas will help improve the community. I stand before you today to express my support for Rocketship, and I ask that you guys do the same.
Yolanda Saban.
Hello, everybody. I'm so happy to be before you. I'm gonna try to talk really fast but slow so you can hear what's actually gonna come out of my mouth. Real quick, we have enough t-shirts for everybody here to leave with one, cute and purple. You hear what I'm saying? I would also like to know how everyone else arrived here today. Did you carpool? Did you yourself ride with someone else? Did you yourself ride on a charter bus? Not a big deal. We parents, we've been empowered. That's what Rocketship did. Rocketship came into our community and they said, you know what? We see that you're sitting in this chair right now today, sir. It has wheels on it. It has a bottom. Some pieces were missing. They ask us to point to those pieces and they fulfill it. Y'all want to talk about money. Y'all want to think that we ignorant enough to let somebody flash a purple t-shirt in our face to get our attention. Very insulted by that. I'm a mom who used to walk my kid to school. I'm new to Fort Worth, been there about 2 years. I have 4 kids, single parent. I chose a school in the neighborhood because the bus came to my apartment complex. Didn't even know I was in the hood. I'm from South Dallas, went to Madison High School. Didn't know what area of Fort Worth I was in, okay? Bus come, perfect opportunity. You a mom, you don't have to worry about getting there. I go to this school. This school is in a community full of people of all different races, all different languages. Not one person at that school has the dialect to speak to these parents. What are we doing? But it's a bus. Put them kids on that bus and send them. It makes it easier for you. So I chose to walk my daughter to Uplift Meridian. That's where she is currently. I desire to be a teacher. Hopefully I'll be before you again soon. Working on that. All right. I desire to be a teacher, so I'm like Uplift. I like what they stand for. I like their values. Fort Worth told Uplift that they couldn't give us a bus to come pick up our kids. So as a mom that I am, caring about their education, what do? Sacrifice. Don't have a car, I'll save a little child support money, spend it on Lyft and Uber, make sure she gets there. Child support stop, got a good job, still gotta walk, can't afford a car, gotta pay my rent. Rocketship came in and said, you know what? We hear you. It's something about filling in the gaps. Something about giving hope. That's what Hope did. Hope built these t-shirts. Hope empowered every single mom in here to say, you know what? I want better for my kids. Don't be shocked that I want better for my kids. Don't be shocked that these people are giving us information so we can let you know we standing up. We want better for our kids. Have a great day.
Sandra Pettis.
Hello, everyone, and top of the morning to all of you. My name is Sandra Pettis, and I am a happy grandmother of 8. 2 of my grandchildren have special needs. I am here today to ask you to support Rocketship Public Schools, Texas. Rocketship's meaningful inclusion model means that children with special needs are not stigmatized or unnecessarily separated. They are included in the general education classroom, teaching them and their peers the value of including others. Please allow my community to have Rocketship in the Southeast Fort Worth area. Thank you very much.
Okay, members, those are 4 of our testifiers. Does anybody have any questions of those 4? Ms. Terrace?
Ma'am, I apologize. I did not catch your name, but I did catch the emotion.
I am Yolanda Saban. How
Hello,
you doing? I
Yolanda.
wanted to talk to you. Go ahead. Let me
Okay.
hear your question.
So you mentioned that, and I want to make sure I heard you correctly because I want to ask appropriately.
Let's do it.
Fort Worth said this school can't get a bus to bring the children to school. What does that mean? Fort Worth City, Fort Worth ISD, which school doesn't get a bus? What does that mean?
That's your question?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, what I was talking about specifically is Uplift Education is where I
Okay.
decided for my daughter Faith to go.
Okay.
She left the Fort Worth school that the bus was free to go to. And so I
Right.
was supposed to accept that, right?
Right.
It's across from OD White. Don't recall the name of that school, but it's diagonal. If you know the hood, it's across from OD White. Okay, so Uplift told the parents, your students welcome to come. You know their motto. They believe in all inclusion. They go and try to meet the people where they are, which is good. And they're halfway there. They really are. They told parents, okay, tentatively, we may have a bus. We've reached out to Fort Worth ISD to see if they would provide buses, if they would assist us with transportation. Thought it was weird. Don't know all the dynamics of that, but I feel like it's counted on that we don't know the dynamics or the ignorance behind or how things are built and work. And we got an organization like Rocketship to come in and they say, this is it. Read that for yourself. Organize. What's your strength? What do you want to do? What do you want to be? They listen. They hear. No offense to anybody in this room, but this rope does matter. This rope does matter. Not saying that you think you're better than me or I'm less than you, but this rope matters because you worked hard to get into positions where you are. So you're no longer down in the war ground, in the battlefield. Don't think you don't respect it, but you're not there anymore. Things change. You guys get to look at pieces of paper, check things off. You're not down with your boots on the ground. So you make decisions based off of money, based off politics, based off of whose name gonna be on what building, based off of what name gonna be on what street. We don't care about none of that. It's not important. In reality, let's just think this for just one quick second. I'm gonna sit down real quick. This world is honestly big enough. Let's just say Fort Worth is big enough for everybody in this room who desire to have some type of school to build it. And I guarantee you that for vast variety of students, everybody will be fed in some type of way. Why does it matter? Why are we even here having the conversation? You want a school? You want a school? You want a school? You want a school? How many kids? That's the main idea, right? Kids learn differently. We can meet them on all different grounds. Miss Rose, the superintendent lady, I hope I'm saying your name right, but she talked about, real quick, I wrote it down, I'm sorry. She said something to the effect of, we cannot work with less money. Wow. Wow, how powerful that statement is. I grew up in Dallas ISD. Have you ever been told that you can't have a book?
Yes.
Have you ever been told, you know what, guys, we ran out of lunch for today, but we do have peanut butter and jelly sandwich. I'm allergic to peanut butter. Then I get in trouble because I go home and eat up everything from my brothers. That's my granny man. Well, mom, they didn't feed me in school. Those are things that we got to get away from. It's all about the students. We don't care about if you're a doctor, master's, none of that matters. It's the kids. It's about the kids. Forget who gonna make what money, by what school being voted in. Forget who gonna lose what term. It's all crazy. The kids are the focus, period. Any other questions?
No, ma'am, thank you.
Okay, yes, sir.
We also have a question from Ms. Perez Diaz.
Okay, go ahead. I wish I could see you though. I don't even know where to look.
I just wanted to say thank you so much for your voice. Somebody, you know, who has children that are school aged. I appreciate the level of passion that you bring to the conversation. I also please know that your words don't fall on deaf ears. As a member of the SBOE, I try my very best to keep my foot on the ground, right? In terms of listening to families as well. And so thank you for that perspective. It's incredibly important because you all are partners in education with us. I think one of the questions I have for you is, I appreciate all of the outreach that it seems Rocketship has really committed themselves to over this last year. What in terms of academics are your expectations for your kiddos, your 4 kiddos that you've spoken so so energetically and passionately about, that you feel Rocketship will offer that the traditional ISD has not been able to do for you? I think you spoke a little bit to it, but I'd love to open the space for you to elaborate on that.
Awesome, thank you. I think I understand your question. Okay, so I don't like ISDs in general. That's why I made my daughter go to Uplift, because I feel like ISDs, we're stuck in this tradition, we're stuck in whose name, politics, you know. Am I good? Okay, this one. This one. Oh, it was on. It was green, y'all. Okay, anyway. To answer your question, I don't like ISDs in general. I think it's all about politics, okay? I believe once I moved my daughter from that school that was giving us the free bus, and I'm just supposed to accept because I'm ignorant and I'm just supposed to take it. I chose Uplift because of their morals and their values, right? So then I started going into education. So I'm actually working on my master's in education with a Relay graduate school. Actually, I'll be honest with you. It wasn't until COVID hit and I was, it changed my view of Uplift and their morals. Okay, I get what happened. The district I was placed in is the Grand Prairie ISD, okay? And so Grand Prairie ISD and Uplift Education, they are in one building together. From my understanding, Uplift asked Grand Prairie if they could build a school. Grand Prairie said, no, you can't build a school, but what we will do is give you a building with another one of our schools and you can go in on it, okay? My daughter's in Uplift Fort Worth Meridian. I'm in Uplift Grand Prairie. I noticed that things would be going on in my daughter's school, which is an Uplift, and I love their morals, I love their values, that would not be going on at the Uplift in Grand Prairie. And it wasn't just a difference in a day, we're gonna do this different. All of the value was changed. So to me, that's making a charter school not stand on their word. They're not standing on their value. So that made me look at that a little different. I think in all of it, I hope I answered your question. Go ahead, I'm sorry, did I answer you?
I think so, but I think if you can elaborate a little more on, in terms of Rocketship specifically.
Okay, that's what I wanted to get to.
Yeah, so,
Okay.
so academically, because I know it sounds like resource wise, they've been very.
So what we're not gonna do is keep saying
very
that
supportive.
resource words. You guys believe that we're ignorant enough to have something glittered and shaken in front of us, and that's gonna get our attention. I believe Rocketship is gonna see my whole child continuously. I believe the platform that they're standing on right now, and heck, we all human, anything can go wrong. But the fact that they're deciding to get out there and be against the grain, to do something the opposite of what everybody else is doing, and we all asking questions about it. I don't know. I've always rooted for the underdog. That's just who I am. That's my personality. If the underdog, it gotta be something about that, in my opinion.
Thank you, Ms. Yolanda.
But I'm not molded by money or finances or these cute purple t-shirts or things flashing in our faces. So, I'm sorry, I'm so insulted by that. I just want to say that, I do. I'm very insulted. The thought that you guys would insinuate that someone said, oh, you want to ride a charter bus? I've been on a bus before. What about would you like to go stand up for what you believe in? How about that? We got some snacks. I had snacks before. You know what? How about your kid can watch you stand up and believe in them? I'm just saying, y'all, the questions y'all asking and posing, very insulting. Go ahead, I'm gonna sit down. Y'all done with me? All right.
Okay, does any other board, Mr. Pickman?
Yolanda, please come back. I like hearing you talk.
How you doing, Mr. Will?
I'm good, thank you. I'm a dad. I've got a son going into 6th grade. We've talked just the past week about which school he's going to next year. He hates me. I make him write a paper about which school he wants to go to.
Good dad.
So I love hearing from parents. You as a parent, I guess following up on Member Perez Diaz, how did you decide which school and why did you decide not the one with the bus? I think you said you visited that school and you didn't like that. So kind of talk, you as a parent, how did you decide for your daughter, this is the best choice for her?
You're gonna make me get emotional.
For your
Mr.
family,
Will.
yeah.
Okay, so when I say I arrived in Fort Worth, I was relocated to Fort Worth. I came out of domestic violence shelter with my 4 kids. I found an apartment in Fort Worth. I had no idea the neighborhood, what it was considered. I'm looking at the fact that I'm stepping my foot back off in the world, starting all over again at 40-something years old. So I'm like, this is a benefit. The bus is gonna come to our door. You're gonna be good, baby. Let's move forward in life, right? My daughter's coming home sad, but as a mom, you're thinking she's so sad because of what we've been through, the trauma that she's experienced. More conversations. Y'all know I'm animated. You guys can tell already. I'm very open and honest with my kids. We talk about everything. So I say to her, Faith, baby, what's going on in school? How you liking your school? How you like this community? Well, tell me about the bus. She's never ridden a school bus before. She says, Mom, I don't like it. Aw, you're a kid. I remember not liking school. Tell me specifically, like what's going on? Like what's happening? Mom, my teacher literally sits at her desk. It's students in the class who she doesn't understand the language that they're speaking. So instead of trying to help them, the only thing she can do is either she walks out of the class or she tells the kids to leave the class. My daughter's she's about to be 10 now. So she's 7, going in 8 years old. I'm like, okay, so does this happen every day? Does this happen often? Mom, you have to just come see. They know that. I love a challenge. So I did that. They had a parent-teacher type of meeting to get parents to sign up to be a part of like the PTA. So I go and I'm sitting in this room, almost the size, I think it was their library. It's parents from all over the world. I mean, beautiful cultures. You see all types of shades of brown, all shades of cream. I think it was free pink and yellow and purple people up in there too. And we all just, looking around, waiting on some guidance from someone. This is what's sad. The lady who was the head to give directions or guidance for that meeting, she couldn't even communicate with the parents in the deemed language. Do I feel like everybody needs to know every language? Kinda. Then we really could communicate with each other. We really, really could talk. It would be no language barrier. We all would be able to understand what the person is asking for. But to watch the lady in the middle of the floor try to give guidance or direction and have no idea what she's doing, she's overwhelmed. Who's her boss that put her in that position to do that? Okay, take it even a step further. Why do we have this school building in this neighborhood? And I want you guys to look it up. O.D. Wyatt and this elementary school are diagonal across the street from each other in Fort Worth. Look at the demographics. Clifford Davis, thank you. Look at the demographics of families in that community and where they come from. And then you go to the school and you find me one person that speaks that mom's or dad's language. Just one. You tell me how we are looking to benefit that family, help that whole child, pour all the way into that student, and we can't even speak his language or understand it. Or better yet, dial a number. Fort Worth ISD, hey, I'm a teacher at one of your schools over here. I need a translator real quick. Well, what language do they speak? The number doesn't exist. Let's just start there. Okay, get back to your question, answering your question, Mr. Will. So from that point forward, I started watching my daughter even more. Okay, I started asking her more questions. And so I decided I needed to start looking for another school. So my older daughter's Rhythm and Symphony, they're Rhythm graduated from Booker T. Washington. Okay, anyway, that was Saturday. I looked into Uplift because Uplift is in Dallas ISD. I looked around. I'm like, they have an Uplift in Fort Worth. Let's see where the closest Uplift to me is. That's when I started researching the Uplift Meridian, found out about if she could, I signed her up. They welcomed her to the school. That's when I found out about the whole transportation. So you said your dad, Mr. Will. So imagine being your dad's self, right? And you're like, okay, wife, here's a school that we can get our kids to. You know what I'm saying? It's gonna be great. We can do it. It's gonna be awesome. They're gonna give them great education. They're gonna believe in him. They're gonna pour in him. And they wanna pour into us. They wanna know about us. But there's no bus to get him there. And your car just broke down, honey, and I don't have a car anymore. What do? My neighborhood don't even have sidewalks. That's what they think of me. What do? As a mom, I make that decision. I'm gonna take every dime from this child support. I'm gonna save it. And we're gonna Uber you to school, from school. I'm gonna be at every meeting. I'm gonna make sure you're at daycare. I'm gonna do everything I'm supposed to do because that's what parents do. It doesn't matter the neighborhood. It doesn't matter what's in my bank account, -$70. But I'm here to stand up for my kids. You know what I'm saying? So, Mr. Will, I hope I answered your question. That made me choose Uplift. Why I'm going against Uplift? Not against. I want you to stand on what you stand on, whatever that is. If it's easily wavered, then you really didn't believe in that one thing. I believe in the kids, all kids. We learn differently. We all unique. We all creative. And me being almost 41, I know that a lot of us have issues in our adult life that wasn't fixed or handled in our childhood. And if we could just give these little kids little hugs, and really, really, really see them, really hear them, help the mom, help the dad. You can want great and want better for your kids, but if you don't have those, fill in the gaps. But if you're not from a certain area, you don't know what a fill in the gap is. Your chair wouldn't sit the way it's sitting, as I said before, without the wheels on it. Who made the wheels? Who put the little brown thing on it to make it rotate? Who knew to put the little latch where you can lean back? It all took a lot of different people for you to sit in this chair. They filled in the gap. That's what Rocketship is doing. They filling in the gap. They asking the right questions and filling in the right areas. It's not about money. Nobody's giving me a dime. Nobody's asking me if I wanted a dime. Nobody's asking me if I wanted to donate to my favorite charity. None of the above. None of the above. But that's the insinuation that my beautiful chocolate melanin skin only understands something being flashed in my face. And I'm going to say, oh, okay, I'll go with it because someone told me to. No. They showed up. I went to one meeting and I don't even know, I was hanging out with a friend of mine. I work with her in my apartment complex. And she told me, hey, what are you doing? How did you get here? Where'd you come from? You different. I said, I know. This is my story. This is my situation. This is how I'm here. But while I'm here, how can I help? It was my free therapy. I started helping with the kids in my complex. And from that, I met one of the ladies with Rocketship. Actually, she was giving me a ride, my friend. And she said, I can't take you right now. Can you come go with me? I said, I don't mind going with you, sacrificing, I sat there and I'm listening to what these ladies are saying. They're asking the right questions. They didn't ask me how much money I had. They didn't ask me. So how you doing today? How are you? Really, really, how are you? You know?
So Yolanda,
different.
thank you.
All
Thank you
right.
for coming. What I hear, and I think for all parents want the best for their kids, no matter which neighborhood they're in, no matter which side of the rope they're on. And the answer for you is Rocketship, and thank you for coming and sharing with us.
Appreciate you. Anything else? All right.
Members, any other questions for this group of four? Thank you. We appreciate your testimony. Call the next group.
Marcus Romero, Kimberly Williams, Janiyah Wilkerson, Paul Durden. Marcus Romero.
My name is Marcus Romero. I'm here to provide testimony for Thrive Center for Success. I'm a senior police officer who's been with the Houston Police Department for the last 21 years. I'm also a father of a 7-year-old autistic son. Having an autistic child has presented me and my family with many challenges. One of them being the fact that I have to work night shift in order to be available to drive my son to and from therapy and school. With ABAs, speech, occupational, and physical therapy. Unfortunately, my wife has to work in order to have access to more affordable medical insurance. My son and I spend almost every evening in traffic at clinics, and we have done this for the last 4 years. It saddens me when I drive by parks in the evenings and see families with their kids playing sports. I'm en route to the clinics. I want to be able to spend more time with my son with fun activities. We have to continue to do this because the public schools can intensify therapies such as ABA, and ABA alone will not give my son the skills he needs to acquire his academics. At the same time, our medical insurance is refusing to provide my son with the hours of ABA therapy recommended by his doctors because they say he is already attending school and he has been without therapy for the last 4 weeks. We're still fighting with the insurance. My son is happy. He's a happy, very smart little boy, but like many autistic children, he learns differently and needs a lot of support. Many children like him need school like Thrive Center for Success, where not only they can receive all the therapies, including ABA, but also work on academics at a more individualized level. The void continues to grow as more and more children are diagnosed with autism. Thrive for Autism has worked so hard to bring this charter school to reality. What are we waiting for? The time is now. There's a small window of opportunity for many kids like my son to excel, and there's schools for science and math. Why can't we do one for autism? Thank you for your time.
Kimberly Williams.
Greetings to the Commissioner and State Board of Education. My name is Kimberly Williams, and I'm a registered nurse and a certified Zumba instructor. I grew up in the community where Rocketship will be located. In my journey of driving through the public education system, I understand the importance of high-quality schools. To eliminate the educational disparity, scholars must be given an opportunity to excel in their greatest potential. Rocketship innovative design will provide the educational structure needed in our community. I am an avid supporter and hope the Commissioner Board approve the next steps of establishing Rocketship. And I want to say something beyond what I have written. I grew up in a community where they're placing Rocketship, and I attended a Fort Worth ISD school. And I was fortunate enough to go to, they had a program there that was an engineering and a math and science program there. And I was a part of a 2-parent home, which was my grandmother and my mother, which I was her firstborn as a teenage mother. So anytime there was an opportunity to do something beyond what we had in our community, my grandmother pushed me to do that. And not all students have that. So I was able to go to college and graduate, and I wanted my sons to do the same. So It is very, very, very emotional for me to be here. I've never been here in this aspect of being a part of the TA and being able to present. It kind of hurts me to see some of the discussion that has been said from you all, the board. I know some have supported the needs here, and some has asked things beyond of us getting gifts. I don't need gifts. I'm able to afford what needs to happen, but I see around my community, I had to send my son, my oldest son, to a private Catholic school because I wanted better for him, and we had to pay. Because I was concerned that if my Black son went to a school that was not of better to what my standard was, that he wouldn't succeed. That is a fear for many of us when we have grew up in that community and we see all the things that has happened to some people that didn't have that opportunity. Drug violence, gang violence, all those things I've seen. But I wanted better for my son. So when I see that a school wants to come to, I get emotional, I'm sorry.
Ma'am,
When I
you need to wrap up your thoughts. That was your time.
Okay. When I see that Rocketship wants to come to our community, it gives me hope for our little babies that grow up and become successful. Because it's a generational thing that happens here when you do not provide that for them. Okay, thank you. I'm sorry to go over, but I'm passionate about what needs to happen in our community.
Janiyah Wilkerson. Paul Durden.
I'm not Paul Durden. Pastor Durden could not be here today. His pastoral duties kept him from being here, but you all have his written statement. And I could read it here if you would permit. Is that all right?
If we have the written statement, I think we can read it.
Okay, all right.
Thank you for coming.
Okay.
Thomas Ross.
My name is Thomas Ross, and I am here to support Rocketship Public Schools, Texas. My current school does not help me continue to grow in my studies. This year, we did not learn a lot about science or social studies. My school does not offer extra programs such as Spanish. Sometimes I get bored, and I want a school where I will be able to grow in my learning skills and have fun too. Please allow my community to have this opportunity and a better school experience in Southeast Fort Worth.
Krista Franklin.
So nervous. Greetings, Commissioner and members of the Board of Education. Good morning. I'm Krista Franklin. Yesterday, I completed my 25th year in education in the state of Texas, teaching in some affluent districts, but spending most of my years teaching in the most challenged communities with students of low socioeconomic backgrounds, knowledge gaps, skill gaps, social gaps, students who did not get the chance to start school at the starting line. No, they started school miles behind the starting lines, in kindergarten, already caught up in the learning gap. And many never get out. I am here today because our community needs a positive change. Our students need a chance to not only catch up, but to start from up, right up where they have the potential to be if given the choice. And Rocketship unleashes potential. When I learned of Rocketship, I was blown away because it was as if someone had gotten into my head and created the school that was there. A school that would not only give students a so-called equal opportunity to education, but a school that would reach the students I teach. Like doctors who have a specialty, mine is students of color and of low social economic backgrounds. Rocketships was created with that type of learning in mind. I stand here before you with a bachelor's degree in secondary education, a master's degree in both educational administration and theology and ministry. And I stand here as a parent. I stand behind Rocketship, three-part structures, students, parents, and teachers as part of the learning community. Rocketship is a learning model structured for students in our community. Thank you.
Okay, members, Mr. Maynard.
I just want to, Thomas Ross, back to the microphone, sir. Hey, Thomas.
Yes.
That's my name. That's my name too. I go by Tom, but you've got a great name. Thomas, how old are you?
10.
You're 10, and so what grade?
Third, finna be in fourth.
Okay. Well, I just want to say that, thank you for your testimony. Thank you for coming. And I hope it's a great lesson for you that, you're never too young to be engaged in the process. And I hope you keep doing that. And so thank you for coming, and we're proud of you. Okay.
Okay.
All right. That's all.
Hi, Thomas. I'd like to speak to Thomas. Thomas, I'm afraid you might be a star now. Thank you so much for coming. And I have a question for you. How long do you think you will remember this day?
About 5 years.
Sorry, that's a great answer. I hope that you write it down for yourself and send yourself, that message to remember it in the future, to speak up for what you believe.
Okay.
Ms. Hardy?
Stay right there, Thomas. Something you said in your testimony, by the way, you're a pretty good reader. Something you said in your testimony, you said you didn't study math, science and social studies this year. You didn't get much in the way of that kind of lesson. Did you have any science or any labs or anything like that? I'm sorry, you had to punch that little green button in front of you.
We did science, but social studies, we didn't do it that much.
So
we didn't do science or social studies that much.
yeah. So you spent all your time on math and reading.
Yes.
Okay. What would you read studies, history in your reading group?
Yes.
That would have been a good way to have gotten some of that history and stuff in there. Okay, that's what I was going to ask you about. Thank you.
Okay, any other questions for this group of testifiers from members? All right, I want to thank you all very much for testifying. And as we're calling the next four up, I'm going to do a little housekeeping with members. Let's talk about lunch. I think we've got a lot of people that traveled along ways here today to speak with us. It might be possible for us to order something in that we can take turns eating and continue along, or maybe just take a quick break where we can eat in the back room, but we don't break an hour for lunch. Is anyone opposed to ordering something in and eating as we continue along? Okay, I'll start working on that. All right, next four.
Letitia Gomez, Carl James, Victoria Puente Peters, Anicia Thomas. Carl James.
There we go.
Good morning. My name is Carl James. Dear State Board of Education, in 1959, Reverend S.H. James approached his 12-year-old daughter, Angela, about attending Thomas Jefferson High School in San Antonio. It was considered to be one of the top schools in the city, but due to segregation, no Blacks had ever attended Jefferson High School. So Angela, my sister, was actually the first group of Black students to desegregate San Antonio schools. My father, S.H. James, knew that we must create equality for all, in spite of its difficulties. As one of San Antonio's most prominent civil rights leaders and the first Black city councilman, S.H. James fought for equity in the education system. Like my father, Anthony Gordon, my nephew and founder of S.H. James Prep, is extremely dedicated to education and is ready to lead this high-performing school. He once stated to me, we've got to give these kids an equal chance at life. That's why I do it. I can only imagine the gravity and the challenges of improving and creating equality in our education system. But please know that my father was without doubt a visionary who understood the battle and was willing to work at it until success was obtained. S.H. James Prep will continue his legacy. The mission of this school and his vision and work are perfectly aligned. I greatly support the approval of S.H. James Prep and urge you, the State Board of Education, to approve S.H. James Prep as an exceptional choice in addition for the students and community of San Antonio. The east side of San Antonio wants this school. They deserve this school. They need this school. I'll leave you with a quote. The ultimate goal is the day when every little boy and every little girl can feel, as I deserve, so shall it be. As I merit it, the door is open. Just by the accident of birth, I'm not hindered or barred. Those were the words of my father, the Reverend Dr. S.H. James. Appeared in San Antonio Express News, December 5th, 1965. Thank you for your kind consideration.
Sherry McEwing, Loretta Burns, Jeannie Chase.
Good morning to Mr. Chairman and the honorable members of the Texas State Board of Education. My name is Sherry Rambo McEwen, and I'm a longtime standing member from the Stop 6 community area of Fort Worth, Texas. I'm here today to support Sajade Miller of Rocketship to place a charter school in this Stop 6 community. This community deserves quality choices and options just like affluent areas. Now, I've known Sajade all his life, and I do mean literally from birth. So I know his character, his work ethic, his skills and ability. And above all that, I know his heart, and that will make this school a success. Because let's be honest, we're talking money, dollars, this is a business. And we can't afford for the business to fail because we're investing a lot of money. I echo what former Fort Worth Independent School District Superintendent Walter Dansby said in his written testimony to you about understanding the challenges, the opportunities of public education, and understanding also that not all charter schools are the same. But we all know that equitable funding and resources will play a critical role in the success of this charter school. In closing, I stand before you guys, a product of a quasi-charter and the effects of its reach. I had that village to raise me as a child. Today, that is not the norm. Therefore, I asked of you, when you retire, to deliberate, you vote in favor of placing this charter in my community. Thank you for allowing me the opportunity to speak to you, and thank you for your time and consideration.
Loretta Burns.
Good morning, Texas Board of Education members, and thank you for this opportunity. My name is Loretta Burns. I'm founder and executive director of AB Christian Learning Center. I've been working in the Stop 6 Southeast area of Fort Worth for 15 years, working to strengthen and improve the academic performance of vulnerable families. We all know and research tells us that parent engagement is critical to the academic success of all students. Very few schools and districts truly and authentically engage parents the way Rocketship does. They have a proven model that meets parents where they are. Some might ask, why Rocketship, that California company? This is no California Board of Education. This is the Texas Board of Education, and we know how to do it right in Texas. We're not talking about the California Education Agency. We're talking Texas Education Agency, and we know how to do it right in Texas. We're also talking about Texas Rocketship Board. We have an esteemed board of members from that community. Our superintendent, Sir Jade Miller, grew up in that community, was raised in that community, went to school in that community. Mr. Walter Dansby, and I can go on. Texas Rocketship Board will ensure that they will follow that model to authentically engage parents and ensure academic success for vulnerable youth. I come to you today as a member of that Rocketship Board, as well as a member and founder of AB Christian Learning Center, asking your support for our campus in Stop 6, supporting Rocketship for our families, for our parents who so passionately care about what happens to their scholars. Thank you so much.
Jeannie Chase.
Good morning. My name is Jeannie Chase. I'm a local Houstonian and a teacher. Today, I would like to spend a few minutes discussing the importance of Heritage Classical Academy and its classical liberal arts program from a teacher's perspective. Heritage Classical Academy's goal is to provide an education that will develop the intellectual capacities of its students, while igniting in them a sense of wonder and creativity. This is accomplished through a robust program devoted to the arts, math and sciences, communication, persuasive writing, reasoning, literature, and the study of history. This type of education is both transformative to the student and the community. By nurturing an innate sense of wonder in each student and teaching valuable philosophical principles, they will develop within themselves an internal curiosity to think more critically and personally regarding their humanity and their role in the community and world. In addition, this education also helps unite cultures by opening the individual's mind to other ways of thinking, teaching them to love differences and to learn from them as well as being able to see how human excellence is not the monopoly of a single group, but possible for us all. This helps prepare them to step out in the world as leaders, deep thinkers, curious individuals who seek to understand their neighbors and to engage in civil discourse, not as passive consumers, but as world changers. Sadly, this type of education has been historically limited to individuals of higher income. Heritage Classical Academy's heart is to provide stellar classical liberal arts education to all people in the community, regardless of race, color, national origin, religion, gender, or income. Lower income families will have access to high quality education. This education has a possibility to greatly impact the lives of young individuals and their families. Schools like Heritage Classical Academy are needed in our neighborhoods in order to bring positive change to our community and world. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We'd ask those four to come back to the podium, please. And are there any questions for members for this group? Dr. Bill Meadrow.
I would like to speak with Ms. McEwing. I agree with you about Sajay. He is an amazing person. But I was wondering if you could talk more about how the relationship would work between the larger structure of Rocketship schools and the one school that you're looking at?
I'm not sure. Let's elaborate on that question again. So you want me to answer, you want me to clarify for you?
How he will influence the larger structure of Rocketship. I mean, this won't be the only school that the only Rocketship school in Texas. There will be more all over.
Okay, so let's start with Sajay's background. First of all, he's educated. This is not his first rodeo. He was a principal at Dunbar High School, my former school. He went on to be deputy superintendent. So he's had the experience and he's progressing in his career at this point. Now, as far, he can take all of that and parlay it over into, once you guys approve the charter, his learning curve of what he needs in this particular community, then he can take that and he can build upon it in his further, if a Rocketship decides to expand. Now, to give you the specifics of how he's going to do that, the business model structure, I'm not privy to that. But if he asked me for my help on a legal basis, I can give him that.
Okay, well, thank you. I mean, as I say, he strikes me as
He is an extraordinary young man. He
Yes.
had for lack of a better term, he had an extraordinary tough mother to raise him. I played stand-in mom when she couldn't be there. So he's had the grounding, the foundation, and the structure. So if you really knew his mom, then you would understand why he is the way he is.
Thank you.
Ms. Burns?
Yes, sir.
Let me ask you a question kind of along that same vine of Sajade. Phenomenal individual from what I can ascertain. And we've seen other scenarios when you have a charter that's being proposed, that's often the vision of one phenomenal individual, because that's what it takes. It takes someone with an incredible vision to build a team. And as y'all know, it's not simple to get to this point. Now, once the charter is approved, a lot of times that role changes. If that person becomes the superintendent or whatever the title is for there, at that point, there's now a board that's in place to set the vision. Talk to me a little bit about how you will interact with him in driving the vision of Rocketship.
So the Rocketship Texas Board has already committed to becoming a Lone Star board, governance board. We will work together with the superintendent to develop that, to guide that vision and to ensure that those goals are set and that he's on target and getting the support he needs. But those goals will be set with the board as well as the superintendent, as a Lone Star governance board.
All right, I believe I've got Ms. Davis. Are you there?
Yes, I have a quick question for Ms. Burns. Can you tell me about the community outreach and parent engagement you've done in the communities outside of Stop 6 to help Rocketship?
Yes, we work not only in Stop 6, but Southeast Fort Worth and on other vulnerable communities within Fort Worth based on zip codes. Those zip codes based on those areas that have low performing schools, that high level of poverty among children. So we work in the Morningside area as well, and we work with not only that, we work in parts of the north side of Fort Worth. So we're not just restricted to working in Southeast Fort Worth. We work in those areas where there are vulnerable youth.
Thank you. I specifically want to ask because the comment was made earlier that very little outreach was done to those families in Eagle Mountain, Saginaw area and the Lake Worth ISD area. So can you tell me a little bit about the parent engagement that you've done in those areas?
I have not done parent engagement in Eagle Mountain Lake. I know I'm familiar with the area. I did teach at Lake Worth High School, so I'm very familiar with the area, but we have not reached out to that area yet. We are expanding. AB Christian Learning Center is expanding the students that we reach out to, but no, we have not reached to that area yet.
Okay, thank you.
Anything else, Ms. Davis?
No, thank you.
Mr. James, I've got a question for you. Tell me again, your position of the new charter would be?
Oh, I am not a member of the charter. I'm, they're naming, attempting to name the school after my father. My nephew is the founder.
Okay.
But I'm not actually in any position.
Gotcha. In the new school?
In the new school, no, sir.
Okay, thank you very much. All right, any other questions from members? Mr. Hickman.
I have one for Ms. Burns. I'm probably going to ramble for a second, so hopefully you catch the gist. I guess everyone thinks Sajade Miller's a success, and you've been in Stop 6 for some time. So if you put Sajade and other successful people coming out of Stop 6, and then others, so their classmates who were not successful, any characteristics you can say? I heard he had a great mom in terms of their education or their family. What made those people successful out of Stop 6, and what made the others not successful? Does that make sense?
Okay. Make sure your microphone's on.
Okay, one thing that we find consistent is an engaged parent. Is always to keep a lot of time regardless of the social economic